Oh, God.
Okay, so this is the first, I don't know, would you call it inaugural?
Yeah, I'd definitely say probably inaugural.
Maybe. Oh, look at the little lines. It's going crazy.
Woo!
Of the Drunk Nerd Podcast. I am Ryan.
I'm Brad.
And I'm Grace.
And we're going to slowly get drunk and talk about nerd stuff. Yes.
Preach it.
So, a little bit of background. I am a pawnbroker. I work with my buddy Brad.
Woo!
We're sitting in Brad's living room with his fiancée, Grace.
Just play with the illusion. They don't know yet.
We'll edit that out in post.
There we go. Oh, yeah.
That's the illusion. There is no post. But no, we're bored. We are post-pandemic, and I think that we all enjoy to do something new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely something different is what is needed, especially during these times.
Absolutely. So generally, we were going to kind of just sit around the mic and record a bunch of echoey dialogue and kind of talk about, gaming. That's something that we all share. Maybe delve into a little bit of our tabletop hobby that we kind of try to do. Some of us are forever GMs.
And we thank you for it.
Hey, you know what? It's because I'm a shit player.
Somebody's got to do it.
It's a hard world, but somebody's got to, just put the straws in the mouth. I don't know.
There you go. So, I guess I'll start. So, when did you begin, kind of gaming? It could be virtual. It could be board. It could be tabletop card.
Ooh.
There you go.
Who wants to go first?
I introduced the subject.
Okay. Rock, paper, scissors.
Just go.
Okay. The first kind of thing I got into gaming was my mom bought my dad a Super Nintendo for Christmas one year. But my dad is not a gamer guy at all. Like he's all about sports or hunting, and he never used it. And then me and my brother came along, and we just kind of like picked that up. Mainly, I've always been like Nintendo. It's always been like Super Mario World, Mario 64, the original Mario. That's the kind of start that I got with game-wise, was just like that older generation.
It's definitely a comfortable thing with Nintendo. Anytime you deal with the Mushroom Kingdom, it's it's a happy place. I don't think that they have an entire thing that isn't warm and fuzzy unless you start looking at like stuff like the Conduit from the Wii, but that's a cursed time.
Well, they definitely have some really weird stuff there too.
Yeah.
That pretty much it was the older gen is kind of what I got started with.
Right. Sure.
And that's really stuck with me through the rest of my years.
Oh yeah, now something you might not know about good old Brad here is that he is an avid collector of everything.
Yeah.
20,000, 22,000.
Hold on, I gotta pull up the app.
There you go.
I got 1,151 as of now.
Oh,
just games.
Oh, I just meant the value.
Oh, the value. Oh, well, shit. Hold on, let me. Value right now is $20,763.
I was thinking it was gonna be something close to that.
Yeah, it actually went down a little bit.
Really?
Yeah.
Capitalism.
And plus COVID. I mean, one of the big things, like he said, because I'm a game collector, and I can tell you first off that the game market is insane right now. Nobody can find a game anywhere reasonable, and it's hard. It's really, really hard because some of those games, luckily I'm fortunate enough that I found a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, oh sweet, this is awesome. But now the other stuff I want to get is just like I can't freaking find it. It's hard. It's just prices keep going up.
Absolutely. I know that you started from a very young age, but kind of a unique perspective is Grace here actually came into it a little bit older than we did.
Yeah. So I have the least video game experience here. I think I wasn't really allowed to play games as a kid. I do remember sneaking and playing my stepdad's PlayStation 2 when I was pretty young, but I didn't really play games until I got to be probably 10 or 11, and my family got a Wii.
Mm-hmm.
Played lots of Mario games, and that was about it. I didn't even know that other games existed outside of that until I met Brad, and I kind of learned all about gaming. And I tried to get an Xbox, and my mom said no, it'll melt your brain. I'm like, but Mom, we have a Wii. She goes, oh, that's fine. So somehow, a Wii was fine, but an Xbox, PlayStation was completely out of the question. So.
Oh yeah, with Xbox and PlayStation brings guns and murder.
Oh yeah.
And the infamous, one of the craziest things I ever remember growing up. Now I was a 90s baby, late 90s, so I'm not one of you 92, 91 kids, superiority. I was a good old 96, And I remember when Modern Warfare 2 came out, I come from a Christian background myself, and I remember the big talk, in all the mom groups that I was drug along with was, oh, did you hear about that other one? You shoot up an airport. They have to ask you at the very beginning of the game if you want to experience the trauma of war. And as a kid, I was always like, oh man, that must be horrible. And I think that it really, something that people actually do not want to look at is the desensitization. I'm only halfway through, and I can't speak.
I can't say it either. I'm sitting here trying to pronounce it in my head. And
I just know the word, just desensitized.
Yeah, I can say to become desensitized.
There we go. Well, that's
but is it desensitization?
There you go.
That's the one.
There we go.
Go with that.
That comes along with some of the more intense games. Because I even now as an older adult, I listen to kids go, oh yeah, well I killed that guy, I shot him in the face. Da, 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 da. When you take something like the more intimate, the more slow hobby of reading novels or listening to audio dramas, where it's a little bit more grounded in reality, the loss of life is huge.
Oh yeah,
and you get some of the things where it kind of dials it back. Let's just say in the Mass Effect franchise, you're dealing with several firefights, just like Call of Duty, but then you're operating on a galactic scale. They kind of try and pull at your heartstrings with oh, that was an entire planet, but they also kind of borrow from, I think, the mythological standpoint of, oh, this is Odysseus and Hercules, and here's the A-Team just mowing down cannon fodder, and they don't really matter. They don't matter at all. And we'll get into stuff like Skyrim later on, but you never care about bandit outlaw when you're roaming around in the open world just murdering everything. But you lose Lydia for the 5th time, and you're like, oh no, better reload. You care about Lydia? Oh, absolutely. So there's that really disconnect. I was kind of like Grace. I was sheltered from some of the more extreme things. I didn't touch a Grand Theft Auto until probably 4, and really, I was kind of sheltered from a little bit of the intensity, which absolutely there's a reason we have the ESRB rating system, but there's just that really weird line where these kids are playing these really intense games, or even worse. Now, what do you all think? Do you think it's worse to kill an artificially programmed being, or to kill somebody in an online match?
I think in an online match. I think because, I don't really know a whole lot about how games work still, but they know they're playing with other people.
Exactly, you
and
get that human reaction.
They know that character that they're shooting at is someone else's character, and that someone's playing that character. So it almost is that's the person I'm talking to, and I'm going to kill them.
Exactly.
So,
but they don't get the reality really of, oh no, you wouldn't be talking to them after that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. When it goes with that, it's the way that I kind of picked up on that is how would you feel playing an online game like Warzone, versus playing something like Mass Effect, or because I'm playing Assassin's Creed right now. There's tons of different things. It's the way that I kind of see it, and I don't know the way it kind of other ways, is that when it's just a standard game, like it's just a game,
Single player.
like single player. I can't even say single. Single player game. If you know it's part of the story, then the people you kill, you just like, oh, it's just a part of the game.
Right.
You know, it doesn't really mean anything. To me, when you get into online, you know that's that other person.
Yeah.
So it starts getting, you kind of get competitive, kind of get a little bit hostile. Because like, you know, Fluffy Puffy, they killed me like 7 times, and I'm just trying to get my ship into the main area so I can, you know, fight. But it's very much, it's different, and you can kind of sense a difference.
Like wonder if that even has an effect on kids playing that, because they're probably not aware of the difference. Like, oh, I'm actually like shooting at a person.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think they even think about it. So I wonder if it has any more effect on them than playing the games as a single player.
Absolutely.
You know?
And, you know, you have no idea. Well, people aren't doing the kinds of studies that they were when we were growing up. I mean, do you remember the scientists and the psychologists? Like, it seemed like every summer now make sure that your kids aren't playing video games because it's raising aggression levels.
Yeah, there was a big stigma. I remember it was, don't let your kids play like any shooter game because they'll become shooters. That actually happened to me. It was with the N64. Me and my brother. GoldenEye. We were playing GoldenEye. My mom caught us. She was like, "No!" And so it got taken away.
But you can get on Zelda and start stabbing things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because it's just fantasy.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
There's, I don't know. I mean, it depends.
Yeah, and I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that the military uses VR training.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, some of the games they produce are pretty realistic. So, what's the difference in training a soldier with VR and having a kid play a war game?
Exactly. You're not only conditioning their ability to be desensitized to violence, but you're training their reactions, their conflict resolution to instantly go into a conflict situation.
I feel like those went way darker than you were playing.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was about ready to say, do you think the reason why they're pushing more for like Call of Duty and stuff like games is kind of like what she said? Because if they're training soldiers with VR simulations, what about letting these kids play, these young ones, getting them into the idea, this is a person, I can, if I work hard enough, I can get to that point.
There you
I'm
go.
highest level prestige.
I can make money doing this in life. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I haven't served, though I absolutely respect anybody who has. I would thank you for your service. But for everything that I've heard, it is absolutely the last place on earth that you want to be is war. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a good thing to remember.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
Definitely.
The games kind of glorify it.
Exactly. There are some games that, you know, would preach the opposite. But then, what's your main gameplay loop? It is still conflict. I would say 93, maybe 89% of all games, their main attraction is conflict resolution. You got some greats. Animal Crossing. I know. I lost so many hours last year building my island.
Still have yet to play
I've
that.
ignored my island for so long.
You know, it still goes without you.
Yeah.
I'm afraid.
What was the thing?
I went back a couple months ago and there was like cockroaches in my house.
Oh no!
And a bunch
Love
of
it.
my villagers left my island.
Really?
Yeah, they're mad because I had been there.
Well, there you go. Well, Tom Nook, what you doing? You really gonna make it all on the one person with opposable thumbs? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's. Well, you know, kind of reeling it back from Conspiracy Theory Island.
God.
I began my gaming career, 14 minutes in. I remember my first experience with a video game. We were actually at my grandfather Ted's, and they were playing The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker on the GameCube.
Such a classic.
I know. I had, up until this point, not been allowed to drink pop, not a whole lot of processed foods. I didn't have a can of beefaroni, like Campbell's beefaroni. until I was 15.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah, I know. Now, for the audience here, I'm pretty fat. I took to that. But no, so I remember hearing in the background, I don't know, Dad. We don't really allow him to do that kind of a thing. I remember him taking a big old drag off of his cigarette. Oh, Angie, it's going to be fine. It's like a cartoon. You see those eyes? And, looking back at it now, I thought it was pretty realistic looking. But, as an adult looking back at the Wind Waker, they call them Toon Link for a reason. Those are cat eyes.
Yeah.
But I remember they were, and I've got a crazy memory for like stuff like this. So I remember that it would not stop raining. So from my knowledge now, I know that this is about the midpoint of the game where you're trying to get the last pearl and you need to break the curse because it's a never-ending storm. And I remember I could not figure out how to get off the island. And, it was the end of the visit. They had been talking and drinking coffee and smoking. And it was about time for us to go. And as a lover of stories, and this really comes down from my mother thinks that we constantly argue, but one of the biggest things that she did was instill a love of storytelling in me. We would read every Harry Potter book as it came out. And I kind of grew up with that. And, it's just one of those childhood memories that really sticks with you. That entire thing kind of, almost really helped me develop as a person. I was telling you, Brad, a couple of weeks ago that the reason why I have such a high reading speed is because I would catch up with the text boxes on all the old Zelda games. Yeah. Eventually, they gave me the GameCube when they were, too busy, and I was doing my own thing, and I ended up, finishing, Zelda Collector's Edition. I finished Ocarina of Time on the emulated GameCube, Majora's Mask. The old school stuff was a little bit too advanced for me, like the original Legend of Zelda, the Adventure of Link, but I got those core experiences in. And then I went back to the PlayStation 2, because I always think that, Nintendo consoles kind of like, they come out a little bit after everything else, but then they innovate the generation that they're in. I mean, the Switch is amazing. Mm-hmm. But then I got into the PlayStation 2, a little bit more complicated platforming. Love that. Now, here's a question. What is your favorite genre in all of gaming?
Like action, mystery? Or...
Action, adventure, RPG, shooter, simulation.
Ooh.
I'd say adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the only games I've played through. Well, I played through Dante's Inferno on the PlayStation 3. I really like Tomb Raider. I like games like that have a story.
Have you ever tried Uncharted?
I haven't.
They called Nathan Drake the Dude Raider because it was so similar.
Oh, yeah?
But they took that little... It went from, this is kind of like a Saturday night cartoon, to this is a blockbuster movie. Great franchise. If you haven't tried it, you should try it. Brad, I know you own it somewhere.
I do own
it.
It's upstairs somewhere. I just gotta find it.
So we got adventure, probably specifically platforming, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mine's... I gotta say, mine's probably the same.
Yeah.
I don't know... I don't know what Assassin's Creed would fall as, because I'm playing that now, but I definitely fall...
It's definitely a...
Like an action side, not side scroller.
There is a side scroller version. There are about 4 of them, but I know what you mean. And you mean an action adventure. Mm-hmm. The genre is technically now open world, but it would probably be an open world platformer.
That's what it is, yeah. Because like that, the Spider-Man game that came out, Marvel Spider-Man, Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank, stuff like that. Yeah. Kind
of condensed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the freak who enjoys open world RPGs. If I can develop my own, persona, love it. Which is probably why I'm such a geek when it comes to our tabletops.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
But, I mean, my first playthrough I ever did of any game was Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Black Ops.
I love Black Ops.
Played it on the Wii.
It's the inferior version.
Yeah, it is, but I wasn't allowed to have anything else. And my mom bought that for my stepdad because she's like, oh, he needs to have a game. He doesn't want to play Mario all the time. He needs to play this war game. And I would hide and wait till they went to bed and I'd sneak out and play it with the volume turned down real low so they wouldn't hear me.
Yeah.
Played through the whole game.
There you go.
Yeah.
What do the numbers mean, Mason? What do they mean?
The numbers, Mason. He's like, the thing where you could break out of the chair. When my brother showed me that, I was like, "Oh my god, that's so cool!" And you could just run around. I didn't know, but they put a hidden game in there too.
Yeah.
On the computer, you would type in Zork, I think is what it was. You could play like a type adventure game all the way through it. It was so cool.
One of the first text adventure games I ever played was this really obscure one that an ex's dad actually told me about. It was a complete text adventure of The Hobbit. The second final boss was Smeagol, Gollum.
Mm-hmm.
And he could vanish in the text.
Oh.
You wouldn't know where to type. You wouldn't know where to go. Once you got him, you would fight the Necromancer.
Ooh, that was classified as Sauron, right?
Sauron,
right?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's starting to get up in my brain. I'm like, which one is this?
But I think that, speaking of genres, I loved Undertale. Did either of you try Undertale?
I have not.
I am not into indie games. Our friend Graham, he's all about it. But it had such heart and such uniqueness. You can't even save scum the game. The game knows when you reload.
Huh.
I accidentally killed one of the introductory characters versus showing them mercy, and I reloaded. And this little flower was like, "Oh yeah, I know what you did. You killed her, and you felt bad, but I'll always remember."
That sounds amazing.
Broke the fourth wall. Fantastic.
That's awesome.
Well, they've got a console version of it now on the Xbox One, so you all should definitely try it.
Yeah.
But no, open world RPGs, I'm pretty much a Bethesda fanboy. I mean, we all got hurt with 76. Now I'm talking at launch, so don't lynch me. My first probably Bethesda style game, like a lot of people, was The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Kind of hard to look at now, but it was a good time. Great time. The glitches hurt my soul. I got it on the PlayStation 3, and if you ever got turned into a vampire, you were glitched into it forever because the quest to cure was bugged.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. So, we've gone over genres.
I think we got another good question.
Okay.
What is the first game you remember beating and you were like, "Oh my god, I did it. Like, I can't believe I did that."
I'll let Grace go first.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I already talked about how I beat...
Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first game I ever played all the way through was the Super Mario Brothers. The original.
Right.
I played it on the Wii, of course.
Yeah.
Downloaded
The classic.
Yes. And I had the swine flu in 5th grade and was out of school for 2 weeks, and I played through the entire thing.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it was
You know,
great.
I've never beat a Mario game. What was my count? 320 games I've beat?
Yeah. Yeah,
None of the
320.
Marios. Not a one. I suck at everything Mario.
I'm really bad at it, but I had so much free time. I've never finished one since then. But
There you go.
Yeah.
First one I ever beat was on the PlayStation 2, Pitfall: The Lost Expedition. And I gotta say, I agree with you all with the platformers, but Pitfall: The Lost Expedition on the PS2 was just absolutely amazing. I remember thinking, I will never beat this game. It's over. And then I finally beat it. And have you played it, Brad?
No, but I remember you showing me some stuff about it.
It ends with a glowing fisticuffs battle with a flaming panther.
That's what it looks
There
like.
you go. You just brought it up.
Yep. I was like, I gotta see this. Yeah, here it is actually, right here. If I can load it in another. Oh, no, that is weird. Oh,
Watch out with the internet.
yeah.
Man, I swear that looked way better when I was a kid.
Everything did back then. I mean, it's the curse of
Rose-colored sunglasses.
Yeah. I'm the world's worst at it though. Like anything that I see like first, I'm like, that's it. That's perfect. That's good with me. So like all this old animation, I'm like, it looks so good, and then you watch like Frozen, you're like, oh yeah, that's not as good.
Yeah. Well, daggone, if we're gonna start talking about your taste in movies, man.
Oh Lord, no.
Let me just bring up
Lord no.
Caravan of Courage
Yeah.
and the Battle of Endor. I love Star Wars. I love it so much.
Yeah.
I will never get 2-3 hours total.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never get that back.
Nope.
I even watched the Smurf ripoff per your recommendation.
The Smurf ripoff?
What did you? Were you not the one who told me about that?
No.
Go to Disney Plus. The Ewoks animation. Television
Oh, the show?
Yeah. Well, of course it's the same like bastardization of the Smurfs or the Snorks.
Called the Snorks.
Okay, what's better, Smurfs or Snorks?
Smurfs.
Thank
Smurfs
you.
is definitely.
Thank you. It's like the difference between eating Cocoa Puffs and chocolate crisps.
I'm a Cocoa Krispies boy.
Oh, I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, honestly. No, I'm a liar. Reese's Puffs.
Oh, that's their own section when it comes to chocolate stuff, though.
Gaming to cereal.
Yeah, it's look.
I think it's the alcohol.
Yeah.
It is. Definitely.
Oh, one quick fact about Ryan that we probably have not covered. Ryan actually has a degree in game design and development.
I do. I went to Mountain West Community and Technical College in West Virginia because I'm a hick. And I completed my associate's degree. I was the vice president of our game development association. Went to my first game dev con. I actually slept through, I'm so sorry, Obsidian. I slept through one of their developers doing a conference. And I woke up just in time for my buddy Graham to ask the man, so when are you all going to do KOTOR 3? Now, I will tell you, I've never seen a man that was having a good time, really thinking that he's connecting with people, just become destroyed.
Oh, no.
Well, we'd love to, but even if we were, we couldn't tell anybody. And that was like the lie that he was telling himself. Now, this was before the Outer Worlds or anything was, they were probably still working on Pillars of Eternity 2 at that point. God, I'm old. Well, I say it's old. It was probably 2015 at the time,
Mm-hmm.
I will say that as much as I wanted to enter the development field, I was always a better writer. I mean, I learned the C++, the C#. I even took a mobile application of Swift, which if you don't know what that is, that's Apple's coding language.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
It was way over my head.
Well, you put people back together, Grace.
Not very well. not right now.
To get back to that one thing, like the game that you're like, oh my god, I can't believe it.
Yes.
Yeah, mine was Luigi's Mansion on the GameCube. That one, my brother got it from a friend when I was in 3rd grade, and I like obsessively played through it. I mean, just like obsessively played through it. I loved it. And I got all the way up till the final fight where, spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't played that game yet. If you haven't, you definitely should. Where King Boo transforms Mario because he traps him in a painting, because that's the whole point of the game, is have to put ghosts back in paintings. But he captured Mario, put him in a painting. He transforms Mario into Bowser. And King Boo possesses this Bowser that he created and brings Luigi into this alternate dimension where he has to fight him. And I could never understand the whole thing, because it was on the rooftop and there was Bowser there, and he would have these electric spike balls, and he would throw them at Luigi, and you'd have, what I found out is you'd have to suck the balls up, wait till he gets close to you, and then you'd have to shoot it at Bowser,
At his
face.
Yeah.
Shoot the balls at his face.
Suck the balls up.
Suck the balls up and shoot him in his face. I'm sorry.
Hurt, we love you.
Then here comes King Boo, and so you would have to, try to catch him, and it never would it wouldn't really work out. But I didn't understand that at that time. I wasn't the best because I just knew it was like, oh, you just you turn on the vacuum, it'll inhale the ghost, it all will be great. And that didn't work out. And I didn't play that game for years and years. I think I was a freshman. And
you go back with your big boy knowledge.
Yeah, I went back, and I was like, I would play like other like little games that we had, like Battalion Wars, and I like run around in Super Mario Sunshine, and then I just remember picking it up, and I'm like, I wonder, and I just put it in, and then I beat it first try. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Oh my god! And then like it was love after that.
There you go. Yeah, beating a game back in the day, I think, was so much more rewarding than it is now.
Oh yeah.
Like, probably the only time that a game will get me now is if it's one of the big high story kind of a games, like any of the Telltale games.
Love those.
Floor me.
Amazing.
Have you ever done The Wolf Among Us?
No, I've only done The Walking Dead.
Did you finish them all?
No, just the first one.
Oh, I know what you're...
I played like the first 5 episodes of The Walking Dead one, but I haven't picked one up since.
Oh, until it went to the season 2?
Yeah.
Well, I did the Wolf Among Us, and I've never really been a fan of the big bad wolf. Let me tell you, I've never related more to an angry fellow just trying to do his job. Let me tell you, folks, coming out of the podcast, if you've ever watched Pawn Stars, that's not how it really is.
No, it's not. It's definitely not.
Don't get me wrong, I love it. It's probably why I'm not doing better things. But yeah. Anyway, oh gosh, no, I'm sorry, I got sad and I don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh no. We're not drunk enough for sad times yet.
You're right.
I tell you what, Ryan is the one is the head of pretty much every single campaign we have ever done. Like tabletop wise, we played Dungeons and Dragons. I've kind of done a little bit with that. One of our buddies, Graham, who we talked about before, he tried to do a thing, the tabletop called Deadlands, but Ryan helped him out pretty much. Ryan was pretty much the guiding guy. We've also been doing Game of Thrones. We've been doing Vampire the Masquerade. We've been doing a Star Wars tabletop, the Fantasy Flight Games one. And talk about a good storyteller. This man, I have never seen weave anything so perfect as Robert Baratheon just smashing Joffrey with a hammer. It was beautiful, and I still think about that to this day.
My favorite tabletop moment ever.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So to give a little bit of a context about what they're talking about, if any of you all are Game of Thrones fans, I have this thing that I'm quickly learning is my favorite way to do a tabletop in an established IP is called Break the Canon. Because it wasn't Joffrey, it was Jaime Lannister.
Oh, Jaime, that's who it was.
Yeah, hit that pretty boy right in the teeth with the hammer. Let me tell you, I've never been more happy to step into George R. R. Martin's suspenders and wonder what would happen if Ned Stark never got killed. Or if Bran never got crippled. Grace.
You're welcome.
Or
if Khal Drogo didn't die.
Yeah, we're dealing with that right now. Oh, fantastic. I've thought about recording those sessions, but I don't know if my little PC can handle it.
But the one thing is I would like to ask Ryan, for you, for other people, what would you say is like your top 3 or top 5 principles that you hold when you're either playing a game or you're creating the story for that game?
So for like tabletop specifically?
Yeah, tabletop specifically.
So I like to get with the party first, the people who are going to be playing the game, and I want to ask them what are they looking for through the story. Because if you love something enough, you do not need to sit, number one, isolate yourself and bring yourself into a room and craft this very elaborate thing that you are very invested in. Your players need to be attached, or they will not get the same benefit. If you're just trying to tell yourself a story, you are doing a disservice to your party.
Yeah.
Second, once you do that, sit down with your player, craft a backstory so that you know what's going on and they know where they're supposed to be coming from. Your Star Wars character, Darth Maul, the Twi'lek, had one of the most carefully constructed backstories, but he made sure to give me enough room to have my own agency to make it interesting. Mm-hmm. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to kind of do from memory. Oh my gosh, that was almost 2 years ago. Darth Maul was a Twi'lek, naturally red, whose father was not Force sensitive, but was married to a Jedi. Mm-hmm. Mama Jedi got hurt or killed and betrayed when her husband started delving into dark side prophecy or culture.
Yeah, he married a Force sensitive woman. I don't know if she was Jedi or not, but she was Force sensitive.
Yes,
he wasn't, and he worked in like the crime kind of place, and he ended up running with Darth Maul and like learned like a little bit about the Sith and saw the power that Maul had. Right. So he basically bred Darth Maul, like pretty much tortured him, trying to get him to become Force sensitive somehow and be as strong as Darth Maul, because he was like, I need you, you're going to be strong whether you like it or not,
right?
Kind of situation.
Because that's the only way you're going to be able to survive with the environment that you're in. I remember, yes, because it wasn't Maul of the Phantom Menace that this guy had seen. He had been working with a few of Palpatine's subordinates in the underground when Maul was going out and he was doing the big game hunting. He was doing his initial training. The people who witnessed that were not killed in Legends, Darth Maul's father was one of these people. So, we had this really cool aesthetic where you had this really good kid, kind of with a chip on his shoulder because of what he had experienced, that had been not only tortured, he had been tattooed in the dark Zabrak Dathomirian tradition. Mm-hmm. So we started going into it. I remember Session 0 was really good. And then Session 1, Brad, you were actually out. And I had to redo your trial. Because I remember Graham, Nick, and Sam did theirs with Qui-Gon Jinn and Obi-Wan Kenobi. They did the Ilum Gathering, which you see in the Clone Wars television show.
And that's where they get their crystal, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I did the same thing with you a couple weeks later. You were there with Plo Koon and Kit Fisto.
Yeah, and they left me.
And they left you.
Yep. They were. I think what happened was it's like, this is a journey for you and you alone. You
go into the cave and you had a vision about your dad. Is what would end up happening. I'm going to pause the stream really quick just for a moment. And we're back. Sorry about that. Took a call. I am now half of a homeowner. Thank you. We are in West Virginia, so therefore most of the housing is trailer. Mm-hmm. Now,
that's decent.
Yes.
All them trailer park boy fans out there.
Now, we were talking about the Ilum quest. So, kind of going away from Ilum, I remember we did your all's first big mission. I invented kind of to set up things because I asked several of the players what they wanted to do. Graham, our buddy that we were talking about, has always thought that just the character of Mon Mothma all through the Clone Wars and in the original trilogy and in Rogue One was fantastic. And he just... Oh, one moment.
Another.
All right, we're back again. So, one of the big things about each of your characters is that I asked you something that you would like to see, and then I would bring that forward. Brad, one of your big things was your character wanted to master the 7 forms of lightsaber combat, and you were personally a very big fan of Anakin Skywalker and wanted to have a connection there. You know, kind of experience the horror, kind of like what Obi-Wan experienced, watching someone you knew so well turn to the dark side.
Yeah, it was really interesting with that too. I mean, you're probably attest to it. Like, I wanted it to be dark. I wanted him to be like, go from light, slowly get corrupted like Anakin did to the dark. But it took a complete U-turn as to what happened. And I think it worked out better in the long run, doing it the way that we did do it, where I wasn't dark.
Yeah. We had a kind of a desire to kind of delve into the darker nature of the Force. But I took each of the players aside and I said, you know, what do you want to see? What do you want to explore? And when do you want it to end? Now, you know, everyone was thinking about it. So as a game master, I kind of did the really jerk thing and I forced my hand. They got through their Padawanship, and I had each of them during the trials experience a Force vision where I said, okay, you know, where are you in 10 years? Which set up the second season of our campaign up perfectly. And then I took it a step further. I did an additional vision to see where they would be, you know, in regards to the original trilogy. Graham, his character, his character is one of the most fleshed out as far as the supporting cast that he has gotten. Though honestly, sometimes I feel like the supporting cast has become a little extensive. Arturo is the name of the character. He is the bastard son of Bail Organa's father, and therefore is half-brother to Bail Organa, and a Dathomirian Night Sister. So, you know, interesting concept, has ties to the main cast, therefore, you know, that he would be privy to certain knowledges. The campaign was also a Disney canon LucasArts Legends hybrid, so we were dealing with ancient Sith, you know, Darth Treya, Scion, Nihilus. We were dealing with issues with Bane and Plagueis.
Oh, God.
A little bit of a moment between Anakin and Palpatine that Brad witnessed. the very what's the trigger word? Grooming.
Yeah, it was the most disgusting thing, because he was telling Anakin and like, oh, you're very strong than what you let on. Don't let the Jedi tell you any different. And then you said, and you can see him playing with his hair, and I was like, oh God.
No, it wasn't that. He brushed the Padawan braid away from the shoulder and like put his hand where the Padawan braid should lie.
Oh, that's what it was. I think mine was a little bit worse, but I just remember I was like, oh no.
We did a ton of those sessions in the early campaign over Discord too, but you gain something when you go in person.
Yeah.
But back to your original question, Brad. Your players will tell you what they want to experience, and your job as the game master is not only to entertain them with the mechanics of the game and stuff like that, but play to what they're interested in. I hear too many times that these game masters have a narrative that they really want to tell for whatever reason, and they will tell a player like straight up, yeah, you've got this option in the core book, but no, that doesn't work for me right now. And really, you're not the enemy of the party. You are the narrator. My YouTube handle is Jeff the Narrator. Jeff's my work nickname, and I like to tell stories, but the improv that can come from a great party.
Yeah. I think one of the greatest things was whenever when we made your character, Grace. If I remember right, she was a smuggler, and you had what is that called? Like a fixation?
Yeah.
An obsession, yeah. What was it again?
It's plants.
And fungus.
Yes.
So she was a smuggler with her own. Was it a YT-1300 like the Millennium Falcon?
Yes. Somewhere, yeah.
And she had planted seeds from all of the planets that she had been to inside the ship. And we never got to use that character because, school and life happens. Mm-hmm. I always regret never having you play in that campaign.
I still love that character and would love to play with that character.
It will happen soon.
I remember one of the hindrances. I remember you told me exactly. You're like, listen, if you guys are in the middle of a big firefight and you guys I need help. If I see a rare plant, you all can wait. I was like, that's fucking awesome.
And that's the thing I love about when a player will take a look at a mechanic and go, okay, this is a part of my character. I was listening to a couple of, with the TikTok documentaries that are like little snippets of the bigger things. I didn't get the name of the podcast, but this guy was like, I was playing a Vampire the Masquerade character, and I chose my flaw was a folkloric bane. I would be repulsed by clergymen and signs of the Christian God, but my character was Catholic. And it turns into this love-hate relationship between, who you were before and the monster you've become. Ooh. This is what I love about Vampire the Masquerade in particular. You see, Brad does most of the Dungeons and Dragons. I've only been dungeon mastering for...
actually D&D? GMing?
No, me just GMing.
You GMing? It's going on maybe 3
years.
Three and a half.
I've never GM'd D&D. And it's not because I have I don't play D&D. No, it was such a gatekept thing from an outsider looking in. And so I went with something that wasn't very number crunching. And I actually ended up finding excuse me.
Medic!
Grace!
Medic!
I actually ended up finding Vampire the Masquerade. Back in college, I'd been a huge fan of the PC game Bloodlines, and I'm still waiting on Bloodlines 2. World of Darkness, if you listen to me. And that world was just so cool. I've also got a soft spot in my heart for 90s angst. Blade.
God, Blade is so good too.
But I hear that the creative team on World of Darkness constantly got called about stuff like Blade and True Blood, if you've ever seen that. And they were like, hey, are you all doing a collaboration with HBO? Are you doing a collaboration with Wesley Snipes? They're like, no, it's just cool. But I found a system that had very minimal number crunching and was so much more narrative than something like Dungeons and Dragons. And I was very intimidated by the whole, you roll this with a modifier here and there and what have you. And after, Brad, you started your campaign, and we've tried. We've tried, buddy.
Uh-huh.
I'm looking at you. I know the pain. We've tried. And I'm coming around. I can see various applications where the D&D system... Wizards of the Coast, there's a reason they've been on top for so long.
Yeah.
Though, if you're a tabletop player, check out Mophidius, Fantasy Flight Games. Now, Fantasy Flight Games is going under. Well, they're not really going under, but they're exporting their RPG lines to Edge Entertainment. We don't have any news yet, but we don't know. Savage Worlds I've been trying to get into. Generic RPG systems. All sorts of stuff. For years, though, I stayed away from tabletops. I thought that it was just it was that one line I wouldn't cross. I've still got a one line you wouldn't cross, and that's cosplay. I'm not shaming. I just don't think I'd look good in latex.
Meanwhile, I will say it. Each of us probably is like a master of lore in some aspect. Ryan is Metal Gear, Skyrim, Star Wars.
Everything.
major, like big major things. Ryan is the lore master of. Grace is very much the lore master of like the Hunger Games. And are you? I mean, you know everything.
I don't consider that like a genre of nerdism.
How about Harry Potter?
Harry Potter.
I mean, I know some Harry Potter stuff.
There will be no foolish wand waving in this class.
I'm sorry,
that.
Brad, but frivolous.
Oh well.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's the Smirnoff. But with me, it's Ghostbusters. I have fell in love with Ghostbusters since I was little, and I'm not gonna lie, I own a jumpsuit and proton pack, and I searched for 3 weeks to find the right boots. Yeah, it was.
And I'm proud of
bad.
you.
I know.
I mean, I'm the kind of guy who was built to cosplay Snap Wexley from the new Star Wars trilogy. If you don't know, it's the guy who got sassy with Leia during the Rise of Skywalker. Oh, this is just going to go great.
Oh.
You see, they were using a deleted scene from her hearing about the destruction of the Halcyon system. Okay.
Halcyon system, Ryan. What's that?
So the Halcyon system was the new seat of the New Republic after the fall of the Empire. Mm-hmm. They moved out of Coruscant and they went to this very large system. And one of the big things was there was this whole side plot with this one senator working with Leia trying to get public, resistance against the First Order. Because here's the thing. The New Republic and the First Order were two governments with an agreement. When General Hux and Snoke and Kylo Ren fired on the Halcyon system and destroyed the Republic, we see this point of view from Finn, Han, and Rey on Maz Kanata's castle on Takodana in Episode 7, The Force Awakens. But that deleted scene shows her trying to garner support for the Resistance, turning this into an actually armed conflict thing. Because the Resistance was actually almost a splinter cell of the New Republic army. Sorry.
No, it's needed because I have no idea what the heck that was.
So she gets the news that the Halcyon system has been destroyed after saving Han and Finn and Chewbacca in the ruins of Maz's castle after Kylo Ren kidnaps Rey because he doesn't think that he needs the droid anymore. Mm-hmm. And she tells the informant, do me a personal favor, be positive. In the moment, it fit a whole lot more organically because there had been set up to that line. They reused it when they, digitally inserted Carrie Fisher into The Rise of Skywalker. When Snap Wexley, I'm so sorry, I do not know your name, great actor that looks like me, that I look like him, but he says, we lost contact right outside of the so-and-so desert. It's they're having the party. The 44-year festival, which, by the way, is absolutely a reference to it being the 44th anniversary of Star Wars in the same year that movie came out.
Oh, okay.
But, so she says, do me a personal favor, try to stay positive. There, these two actors, the actress that plays Rose, Kelly Marie Tran, and the Snap Wexley, they have to act off of those deleted scenes, which is absolutely hard to do. They did the best that they could. It was believable even. But he says, very sarcastically, oh, this is just going to be great. You're not going to believe how good this is going to turn out.
Mm.
Yeah. But, I cosplayers, fantastic. It's not my thing. Mm-hmm. I got too many curves.
Speaking of Star Wars, I feel like this needs to be said because everybody has experienced those movies in some way, hundreds of ways. When would you say the best time to watch a Star Wars movie would be? When would be the best time to watch a Star Wars movie? And what I mean by that is like not age-wise. I mean, I guess age. We'll go age. But what I meant by that is like typically everybody.
History.
Basically, what I'm trying to get at is probably horrible phrasing. Is Star Wars to me is meant to be something that is passed on.
Oh.
Like you have an elder who sees a youngling, and he's like, "Hey, let's sit down, watch Star Wars." And to me, I feel like there's a certain time of the year when that should happen.
Oh.
That's what I meant. Like, when's a certain time of the year that should happen? So, I know with me, I definitely feel like it should be just before, like, the part of Halloween. And the only reason why I'm thinking about that is because right then, it's Halloween, costume ideas are going to go through the air. Hey, listen, I want to show you something truly amazing, something that, is wonderful, and, there's tons of stuff out there now. And with that, it gives them, like, the snowball effect. Okay, well, here's Anakin Skywalker becoming Darth Vader. Well, here's Luke Skywalker becoming Jedi Knight and meeting with his father. And with that kind of context, I feel like them actually going and picking out, like, their costume. Like,
kind of signing on to their side.
This is like, this is me. Like, this is, I'm a Sith Lord, or I'm a Jedi Master, and this is my lightsaber.
Or I'm a smuggler, and this is my blaster.
Yeah. Just something along those lines. I feel like that's definitely, like, a big, like, it's peak Halloween moment, so they're going to be able to find their costume, find their lightsaber, go to school, start a Jedi Order, like we all did.
Yeah.
Well, see, I have to disagree.
Ooh.
Because, just for a nostalgic reason, my family always got together before Christmas and rewatched the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Every
a
year.
good one. That's
We've
good.
all watched it.
Time of the year, I don't think is as important as time of, like, the season. I always found that it was definitely a movie that you would start and it would take up the rest of your evening before you went to bed.
Mm-hmm.
That way the kid can sit down and they can, really think about it. But really, any time that it rained was the time that I would watch Star Wars. I couldn't go outside. I didn't want to listen to the thunder and lightning, which, very relaxing, but, I'm bored. I want to, play some video games. I want to watch Star Wars, or, my little 3 episodes of Dragon Ball Z on VHS.
Oh, those were the days, dude.
No.
Oh, I remember I had the Fusion VHS tape.
Did you?
Oh,
I had the original Broly, the Legendary Super Saiyan, with the Haji's Kitchen soundtrack.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. To this day, I get, like, little bits of that song in my head. But no, so... Yeah, definitely when you're winding down for the day, and so the kid can be excited when they go to bed, I would say. Now, thinking about the next generation, how do you think they should watch Star Wars for the first time?
In order. Chronological order.
Chronological order.
Yes.
Yeah.
To me, dang, man, that's hard.
It's hard because you want everybody to experience it the way you did it. But Star Wars isn't the same way it was 20, 40 years ago.
No.
If you did it by release date, it would be...
It'd be confusing, I think.
It would be... Well...
It depends on the age. If you show an adult Star Wars, they will never get it if you go order of release.
That's true.
I showed my fiance Kenzie the original trilogy, then the prequels. And then after 6 months of her refusing to watch these movies with me, I got COVID and almost died.
Ooh.
And she was like, I really want to watch Star Wars. And I said, okay, take pity on the sick man. And then we finally finished up with those. She hated the original trilogy.
Oh.
Loved the prequels. And really enjoyed the sequels. Because I think that she valued, the presentation more than the content.
Yeah.
The original trilogy. Not to be a purist,
But, there's something about it.
it's so... I don't know. I like watching the original trilogy because, like, it doesn't take itself too seriously.
And it breaks it down to what Star Wars is.
I almost feel like every Star Wars movie that has come out since then has tried so hard to be a Star Wars movie that it overdoes it.
That it stopped being a movie and it was focused too much on being a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why I think that The Mandalorian succeeds.
Yes.
It's a Western first.
Yes.
Do you think that if the prequels came out originally, would Star Wars be as popular?
There's no way.
That's what I was saying.
And I will tell you why. The amount of cinematic improvement that we got from the late 70s into the prequels, in the early 2000s, was so drastic. I think that it sparked an entire new generation. Mm-hmm. But then again, could you imagine the Battle of Endor on the same scale as the opening of Revenge of the Sith? Makes you excited, doesn't it?
Yeah, that would be interesting. But
I think that there's a reason why it was so successful. Besides, it was a different time. The era of the Clone Wars is these huge, massive armies going at each other. But though, I think that if you're going to show a kid Star Wars, it doesn't matter as long as you start with either the prequels or the original trilogy, because then they'll be excited enough to watch the others. But if you're going to try to explain Star Wars to an adult, you need to go chronological.
To me, it's like I said, I'm a creature of habit. Like, if I've done it this certain way, it's got to be done. I was lucky enough to be, I think we all were, to be born before 3 came out. So we got to watch, 4, 5, 6, then 1 and 2. And I remember the previews for 3
yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. What's going to happen? This is how.
I didn't even know what Star Wars was at that time.
It's like,
really?
what?
Yeah.
At what age did you really get into Star Wars?
I would say like 11 or 12.
11 or 12. I would have been 13 or 14, 15 years old. Yeah. Wow.
Fun fact about me and her: the first thing she ever bought me was the Blu-ray DVD combo of 4, 5, 6. Because I said I don't have it. I don't have it, and I really want to find it. She's like, oh, that's cool. Literally the next day, hey, I got you something. I was like,
so sweet.
Are you kidding me? Oh my god! That literally, when I got home, I was with my brother, and I was like, dude, we gotta go to Walmart right now and get 1, 2, 3.
Hey, yeah.
We gotta get 1, 2, 3. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Now, have you collected the sequels yet?
Yeah.
On Blu-ray? Yeah.
On Blu-ray, yeah. The only thing I don't have
is Rise of Skywalker.
The only one I don't have on Blu-ray is Clone Wars.
Clone Wars, the special?
Like the movie one.
Right.
The animated movie before the animated show.
Gotcha. Now, you see, I've been doing this thing every time a new Star Wars thing comes out. Y'all make fun of me every time, except for Grace.
You're going to kill yourself with this, my sir.
Look, man, it is so interesting to watch it all in chronological order. You see, I start with The Phantom Menace. Then I'll go to Attack of the Clones. Then I'll do... And as much as I love the Samurai Jack style Clone Wars, it's not canon. Even though I love Legends. Love it. I'll go 1, 2, The Clone Wars. Then now, all 7 seasons of The Clone Wars. Now I'm watching The Bad Batch.
Oh, The Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Episode's coming out tonight, everybody. This is actually a Thursday, so at 3 a.m.
Friday.
New episode of Bad Batch is coming out.
And now, for context, we have just seen reunions, which, Crosshair got a little crispy. Now, I went back and watched it. Did you look at his eyes? They're burnt.
I did not notice that.
Are they going to retire him? They can't clone him now.
Or are they just going to replace it with cybernetics?
They could, but do they want to waste that on a clone? Harkins and
I don't know. Just a real quick for people who don't know what the Bad Batch are. So in the Clone Wars, there was multiple clones made, but there was a special. Would it be like a unit made of genetic alternates, and their names are Crosshair, Tech, Echo, and then there's Wrecker,
Hunter.
and Hunter. Yeah, Echo wasn't a part of that though.
No, he was a reg. He became deficient, or other, by means of explosions.
Yeah.
Now, like I was saying, the order, just real quick so I can get it out, is 1, 2, Clone Wars movie, Clone Wars show, 3, Bad Batch, Solo, Rebels, Rogue One, 4, 5, 6, Mando, 7, 8, 9.
7, 8, 9.
And I know, for those of you who may have watched Resistance, I just personally cannot.
Have you watched it through?
I've seen the first season. I've watched the entire first season. It kind of reminds me, and this is really weird, but you know the tone and the flavor of like chilling out on a space station like Treasure Planet?
Yeah.
That. But it's just them chilling out in a garage.
Oh.
And you get to learn the street vendors, and you get to learn them, and occasionally they'll race, occasionally they'll spy.
Okay, yeah, that's not very much into like heavy lore sort of situations then.
And this was also before The Last Jedi came out. So we were all like, oh man, what's going on with Kylo Ren? You see Kylo Ren a couple times, stuff like that. And we've lost power.
Yeah, did we?
Nah, I mean, it's okay.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. No, we're good. We're good.
Okay. My apologies.
Very good. So it's just one of those things. Though it definitely could be said that Star Wars is getting too much. What do you say?
I definitely agree. I think they're capitalizing on it being so popular right now that they're like, we have to make as much as we can.
Exactly. Some of the best magic in Star Wars I found, I actually didn't get it a chance until, I'd say probably 3 or 4 years ago, when I started reading the books. No one thinks to read a Star Wars book. Mm-hmm. And then I did. And then I couldn't stop. I know that you were reading a little bit of Heir to the Empire.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Didn't make it very far.
It's hard. It's hard. They break it down. It's not structured like a Star Wars story. Mm-hmm. It's structured more like a book.
Yeah.
Though, I don't know if you're familiar with the author, Timothy Zahn. Mm-mm. So he's written in the sci-fi genre for years. Some of his best work, however, is Star Wars, specifically his creation of the character of Grand Admiral Thrawn. His Chiss name, I cannot pronounce, but it's like something like Mithrandu. That's the last name. That's his actual name. Everything before that is his Chiss family name. Now, Timothy Zahn does this amazing thing with the way he structures books. It has actually been the inspiration for my own novel. Little selfish plug right here. I am the author of a little science fiction franchise called Wild Space. My first book in the Edge trilogy is called Call to the Edge. But the structure is based on Timothy Zahn's 34, 36-ish chapters, kind of a 3-act plot, standard stuff, but it was something that I could hold, one of his books in my hand and go, this is the length, physically, that I want my book to be. Mm-hmm. And then, an editing error made the font like twice as big, so twice as thick. But,
I like it, though. I like a good, thick book.
Everyone has told me that they really think that the font is comfortable. So I think I'm going to keep it. But yeah, so some of the best Star Wars I've ever experienced was, the books though. And if you're not into it, Disney and, by extension Del Rey Publishing has done a fantastic job not only making them available in print, but on Kindle. If you don't like reading like that, Brad, you love audiobooks.
I do.
Fantastic.
I love audiobooks.
Quality's, kind of hit or miss depending on who they get, but
yeah.
So I guess another Star Wars question is, what's your opinion on the newest movies? And how well do you think it fits?
Ooh.
Personally, I believe that Rogue One was the best of the newer Star Wars movies. Just something about it, it just felt really
familiar yet different.
Familiar, yeah. I really.
That's
my opinion. I know a lot of people disagree, but
Rogue One is just so well done. Now, Rogue One, though, I would consider to be, a traditional war movie or even a heist film. Mm-hmm. Whereas, you've got the hero's journey in the traditional Star Wars sense.
Because that one's very much not like young hero meets master, learns new ways. It's very much like...
These are burnout, struggling people.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved getting to see, like, the smaller people of the rebellion. Because everything you see in the rest of the films are, like, the main characters.
And they're so polished and perfect, and they never have to do anything dirty.
Yeah.
When we meet Cassian Andor on that one space station, and his informant's like, I can't crawl out of here. He says, it's okay. And then he shoots him in the back. Mm-hmm. Totally sold me on the character.
Oh, yeah.
Now, did you hear that Cassian's getting his own show?
No way, really?
Mm-hmm. It's a prequel to Rogue One. So we're going to be getting all that.
And
Awesome.
it's already in production, isn't it?
Yeah. They're doing filming right now. Now they just wrapped on Book of Boba Fett for this December.
Oh, I can't wait. It's going to be great.
Well, that was... not to get off topic,
Sure.
but that was... Whenever the season 2 ended, and it was that last scene, it was the most... Like, there was no word. And that was, to me, that was the best Christmas present that a corporation could ever give me.
Yes.
Because, it was just... It was perfect.
I remember having that Luke Skywalker high. Very emotional. We actually watched the finale together.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all did.
Which I think we should totally do when Book of Boba Fett comes out.
Mm-hmm.
But, because, you can do the Bad Batch, but I will admit it is a lesser story.
Yeah.
There is just, it's an animation, very important, but it is not going to have the same, like, mainstream appeal that a live action will have. Which is a shame because the animation's really good. I know I have at least 2 people that still need to finish the Clone Wars.
It's so
I
hard.
have a really hard time with it. I think it's a great story, but I just have a really hard time.
It's dense.
It is, and the episodes, I feel like they jump all over the place. I can't keep up.
The order of events. The daggone show got saved from being canceled, twice? 3 times?
Really?
Twice during Cartoon Network's original run, and then when they brought it back for season 7 with Disney. Very hard, because people didn't like Ahsoka.
How could you not
could you not like
like
That's
Ahsoka?
the thing.
I love Ahsoka.
Now you all, I'm going to say the sentence, y'all are a little bit younger than me.
Not that much.
I know, but, okay, a little bit younger than me in your Star Wars love.
Okay, yes. that's
Ryan, I will say this. I do remember the preview. I was at my friend Brandon Hobbs' house whenever we were still... He was the big Star Wars nerd before I met, not nerd, but, a lore master.
Nerds a love.
That is true.
word now. It's not like it was.
Yeah, that's true. But he was the big guy before... Like, I didn't even know what a Death Trooper was until he showed me the action figure that his stepdad bought for him. But I remember being at his house, and he was going to Cartoon Network, and the preview episode, the latest episode, if I remember right, it's season 2. It's about like the last one. It's whenever Boba Fett goes inside of the clone training thing when he was a kid to try to kill Mace Windu. I remember that being aired on TV, and we were at his house. So it's
big brain stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god, I remember this. But yeah, I agree with her. Like, a lot of that stuff is very interesting in the beginning, but when you get to some of this stuff, you're like, okay, this is we're pulling teeth here.
Droid distress.
Yeah,
the filler.
Yeah, a lot of the filler stuff is gone. If you got rid of the filler stuff, I feel like it would make a lot more sense.
Probably. Now, they unfortunately did this really crazy thing where they established a really great story in season 1, and then they completely abandoned it until season 3. One of my favorite episodes in season 1 is ARC Troopers. Not ARC Troopers. Kill me. It is Rookies. Yes. At the end of the episode, Anakin and Obi-Wan finally bring the 501st and the recon battalion through hyperspace, and they foil Grievous, and then, arr, jump to light speed, you save the day. Welcome to the 501st. We didn't see the continuation of that for an entire additional season. Season 3 opens with...
That's when they're at the
Yeah.
Camino's, like, Domino Squad was doing their finals.
Now, I think that Episode 3, Season 3, Episode 1 is called Rookies.
Yeah.
What is Episode 4, Season 1 called? Is it Shinies?
Episode 4.
Season 1,
Let me
yeah.
pull up the handy dandy.
Because the sequel to the Season 3 premiere is called Arc Troopers, which is the later Battle of Camino, which happens directly after Season 1, Episode 4.
And what was the season again?
Season 1, Episode 4.
Season 1, Episode 4. It is Destroy Malevolence. Season 1, Episode 4.
Oh, maybe it's
Episode 5 is
5.
Rookies.
Rookies.
Yeah.
So what's Season 1, Episode... Season 3, Episode 1?
Season 3... Maybe it's Clone Cadets.
Clone Cadets.
Yeah, it goes Clone Cadets, then Arc Troopers.
Right, gotcha. Yeah, they did this really weird thing, and even in Season 3, you get this really weird episode called Droids in Distress. C-3PO and R2 end up getting sent grocery shopping, and Cad Bane hijacks both of them in order to get the plans for the Jedi Temple, which is how we started Season 2 Holocron Heist.
Yep.
So the chronology just totally jumps around.
Yeah. And Cad Bane, for people who don't know, and spoilers,
He's back.
Cad Bane is in the original trilogy, Boba Fett was the top bounty hunter. In this timeline, like the clone, like Phantom Menace up to even a little bit after Revenge of the Sith, he was the top bounty hunter at the time.
If it wasn't Jango Fett, it was Cad Bane.
Yeah, he's strict Western though. Always has a toothpick. Oh yeah, Merry and Pippin got a toothpick. But he always has a toothpick in his mouth. He's got dual wielding. He's got a big wide brimmed hat.
But he's a Duros, not a human.
Yeah.
Now Duros, they are the blue people, sometimes green people with the red eyes. Love it. But yeah, it's almost like Star Wars gatekeeps itself. Not to mention the fandom's toxic.
Oh,
It's very,
Yes.
very, very toxic.
I mean, I even find myself, sometimes I'll unnecessarily correct something that somebody says. More so, honestly, for just information, but I know how I sound sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, daggone, you call me the lore master. There are plenty more people who are much better than me. I just bring it up too much.
But back to the whole thing, what do you think on the prequels and stuff? Not the prequels, the sequels.
My favorite of the sequels, or let's just say the Disney era, Love Rogue One. I don't think that I can really commit it to a list. I can tell you that I think that one of the weaker ones, unfortunately, was Rise of Skywalker.
okay. But I have to say, seeing it in the theater was stunning. I kind of got so stunned by just how it was, the cinematography, I guess, to be... I was stunned by it.
Yeah.
But then when I went back and watched it again, I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
But when you watch it the first time, you're like,
There's
whoa.
no better viewing of a Star Wars movie than the first time you see it.
Yes. And you're like, wow, this is awesome. But then you go back and watch it again, you kind of pick it apart, and you're like, this doesn't add up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The pacing was wrong. Now, they also completely threw out the script halfway through. It was originally going to be directed by Colin Trevorrow. The film title was supposed to be Duel of the Fates. Very different movie.
Yeah.
Then, creative differences, the whole Rian Johnson falling out, bring back in JJ, and of course, they got to get people into the seats. What do? Star Wars Celebration, they drop the trailer at the very end. Give it to me, Brad. Uncle Palp's laugh.
Of the
The internet exploded, and what do? Somehow Palpatine returned.
Which I kind of respected though, because that happened in Legends too.
But we had an explanation.
Yeah, what was the reason why this new one is like his
Somebody
body?
tried to explain it to me.
It was me.
Was it
Yeah,
you?
like wasn't it like his body drifted out, but the Empire took it in and like somehow nurtured it back to health and then brought it to Exegol? Is it Exegol?
Yeah, Exegol. So what ended up happening in the novelization? Palpatine is blinded by his rage and, lust for killing the last Jedi. He's so blind to it, he does not realize that Vader is behind him, gonna, throw him into the reactor. As he's following, he projects his consciousness and throws it into the unknown regions and inhabits a clone body that wasn't ready. One of the really big things about the dark side is that it is a corrupting force. Which, if you ask some of the Disney executives, is why they can no longer say, "Oh, well, this is a gray Jedi," because the dark side corrupts and has a physical toll on the users. One who is supposedly living equally would show signs of degradation. Which is why they say that gray Jedi can't exist. Now, I think that,
We got Tano.
yeah, we got Tano, but that's someone who has a philosophical difference with the Jedi, but she still doesn't use the dark side.
True.
So it's really hard, because we have people like Jolie Bindu, Kyle Katarn from Legends. One of the big quotes from Kyle Katarn is, no Force ability is inherently good or evil. It's how you use it. Which is great when in the context of explaining a video game. But when you get into the lore behind Force Lightning, specifically, did you know that you can't use Force Lightning unless you've had it cast on you?
Did not know.
That is a Legends fact only. Because Rey does it in Rise of Skywalker. See?
That was a strange time.
Yeah.
It was.
I think that probably the two most enjoyable ones for me, top three, is The Force Awakens. I prefer Solo.
To what?
Rogue One. Because I enjoy the heist, the not necessarily, it's a more fun romp versus these are people who are willing to die. It's very heavy subject material.
I love that.
And really, I saw an AMC interview. The rebels are not America. The Empire's America. The rebels are the Viet Cong.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
Or if you want to kind of rewind it a little bit, the rebels are the American colonials. They're not coming from a position of power. It is desperate. They are hurting people. Stuff like that. But no, probably, I actually enjoyed The Last Jedi.
I did too.
I wanted them to do something different. The whole treatment of Luke Skywalker.
I actually enjoyed it.
I could relate to what he did.
I think that people, like I said, I'm not a Star Wars master like you, but from my perspective, I always felt like, I grew up only watching the original trilogy.
Right.
I didn't watch the prequels until I was in high school, so I'd only ever seen the original trilogy. But I kind of thought Luke was a very static character. Mm-hmm. I kind of felt like he didn't really have any other. There's nothing else going on about him other than the fact that he was becoming a Jedi.
He was so chosen one.
He was
disgusting.
It was like he was almost perfect, you know.
Something
But
that they stone Rey for.
I really enjoyed in The Last Jedi him being more human and more relatable, and that he actually had struggles and that he wasn't perfect. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, you're ruining Luke. Like, you're ruining his character."
No,
I loved it.
absolutely.
I thought it made him a deeper character. Like, I felt like he was way more relatable. Yeah.
I think that one of the greatest, like, you know, we love The Empire Strikes Back. We love the lessons with Yoda. Truly wonderful, the mind of a child is, you know, kind of a thing like that.
Concentrate!
But one of the greatest Yoda lessons I think that we've ever gotten, or maybe it's just because I needed it more than I needed Yoda from Empire, failure is one of the greatest teachers. We're not teaching our youth to fail.
That's true.
They fail, they're like, well, screw this, I didn't need that anyway. No.
And I was like, I mean, you did need that. Like, you needed to fail.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Skill, mastery, yes, but failure. Failure most of all. Luke grew so much as a character after he failed in Empire. Anakin grew so much as a character after he failed in Attack of the Clones. Yeah. And then continued to fail even more. But, well. Now here's the thing. One of the most, I want to see how you all feel about this. Take yourselves back to Revenge of the Sith, children. Okay. We're post Order 66. Anakin has gone to the temple. He's killed the younglings. He's done the meme.
What have I done?
No!
No, before that. No, after that.
No, he goes to Padme.
Oh, yeah.
And he straight up lies to this woman. The Jedi betrayed everybody. Like I didn't just go into preschool and murder all these kids. And he doesn't have any remorse. You go back and you watch that scene. It is horrifying. Yeah. Horrible. Think about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it all right, my love. Duh. Very crazy.
I hate Anakin.
Do you?
I hate Anakin as a character. I can't stand him. I will watch the prequels for every other character but Anakin. I can't stand him.
He very much is different. He's very much like the one-sided kind of character that is just like...
He's
Okay. And that's like his whole thing too.
I think he's very whiny, and I had a hard time relating to him. Like, I felt like there were characters in the prequels who had a very rough life and had hard things happen to them, and they handled it much better, and they didn't turn into a big crybaby and, you know.
Yeah. One of the things I kind of think about when it comes to Anakin is like the way that they explain, like the way that they explain the way the Jedi are formed is like they'll take a child, they'll find a child that's force sensitive, like before they even like really become aware, and they'll go to the parent and be like, he's force sensitive. Let us take him with us. He'll learn to become a Jedi. He'll save his people. Blah 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 blah. You know, so they're all automatically taken away from the one thing that would give them, that already loves them more than anything. So they're pretty much raised to like not in a sense like not love, but they are trained to be like, excuse me, don't love you can't have like a big love for everybody. You're your own person. Your main goal is to look towards the people. But when they found Anakin, he was with his mom. And his mom protected him. He grew up as a slave, and he was like, I'm a kid, and this is my mom, and I don't want to leave my mom, because she's my sole protector. She's the only thing that makes my days all right, because she's there. And when he gets taken away, and they're basically saying, what you're feeling is wrong, then he's like, well, what should I feel then? Like, I miss my mom. I love my mom. They can't tell me that I can't love her. You know, and then here comes Padme, the one person who treats him almost like, not almost, but
Oh, definitely. I mean,
like
the
very much a
age
mother.
difference.
Like, yeah,
That's what's creepy. It's like weird, like what's that complex called when you're in love with your parents or something? Oedipus.
The only thing I know is Stockholm.
No,
No, it's not Stockholm.
That's what Stockholm syndrome is, when you fall in love with your captor.
Yeah.
No. I just felt like, I don't know. I feel like he was the least relatable in terms of Star Wars protagonists. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't have any hard feelings for him. Like, I watched him go through and, turn to the dark side, and I felt no remorse for him. I'm like, okay, that's what you deserve.
Yeah. It's so sad to see, like, literally everyone else around him, except for Palpatine, of course, but everybody else, like, they're like, hey, like, what you're doing is wrong. Like, let me help you. Let me do this. But because he has been so conditioned to just believe, like, what he's feeling is wrong, and his own personal actions is the only, like, gratification he can get, he's like, well, I have to do this. I have to lie. It's very much like, I think personally, in that end fight with him and Obi-Wan was not trying to hurt him. He really wasn't. Like, until that last point where he was like, look, I have the high ground. Don't do it. Don't make me force my hand to do this. Like, everybody else was like, Anakin, like, please stop. Like, don't do that. Like, Padme said it first. Obi-Wan said it second. He's like, can't you see, like, the Chancellor's evil. He's corrupted your mind. And he's still like, no. It's, yeah. He's so hard to relate to. And, like, he's so hard to, like, understand. But at some aspect, you have to, like, the way I kind of look at it, it's like, man, you just got to think, like, he was told all his life that he was meant to do this one thing. And all his life, all he wanted was just to be himself.
Yeah, and that's what I find to be fundamentally wrong with the Jedi. Like, I don't agree with the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a whole nother
yeah.
rabbit hole to get into.
Yeah, there's like, you can't love one person solely, but you can love, like, everybody. And fun fact that Ryan told me, in the newest books, we've come to find out Jedi can't have like unconditional love towards one person, but they can, like, go out and, like, bang whoever they want to bang as long as they don't get connected.
See, that's the problem. I feel like they put so many limitations on it. There's so many rules. It's like, it doesn't work.
Yeah. It's very much like, we preach, they preach, like, universal love. Like, you have to love everyone. We're here for everybody. We're not here for the one person. But in the same sense, it's like, well, I mean, even Obi-Wan fell in love with someone.
And, like, that was okay, but, like, someone else falling in love wouldn't be okay. And that's the thing. Like, it was never just there were so many rules and stipulations towards how you could be and how you could love and how you could feel feelings that it's like, well, of course people turn to the dark side because that's when you could connect to your true emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. Fundamentally, I don't really agree with the Jedi. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, to be fair, you didn't really get to see that part of how the Jedi worked until you watched. Like, if you were like me and never really read anything about Star Wars outside of watching the movies, the only thing, you didn't learn about that kind of stuff until you watched the prequels. Because the original trilogy doesn't really get into that. Like, I feel like Jedi, the idea of being a Jedi, and I could be wrong, but the way I saw it watching the trilogy growing up is like, I felt like Yoda was like the epitome of Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you got to the prequels, I felt like being a Jedi was more like being part of the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
That's a whole thing. But that's just how I see it. I didn't feel like there were as many rules.
Yeah. Well, even Luke changed the rules whenever he started his own
Well, in Legends, not in recent. I don't know exactly what about recent, but in Legends, he married a woman. Like he got married. Like he was you were allowed to marry whoever you want. You're allowed to like love, and you were allowed to do whatever you wanted to do. Just like with Kyle Katarn, it's like it's not what side of the Force is used, like which side of the Force you call upon a power. It's how you use it.
But the Jedi wouldn't agree with that.
Yeah. There was a similar situation. The Jedi had a hybrid type of Force lightning, and it was called Force Judgment. And this is in Legends, I'm pretty sure. But there was only one Jedi Master who could use it from our knowledge, and it was Plo Koon. And every time he used it, he had to go to court with the Jedi Council as to, like, why did you use it? What was the circumstances for it? What was your reasoning as to why you used it? Do you feel any different for how you used it? How do you feel this person should be treated? And, like, stuff like that. And it's just like, what the fuck,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's crazy, all the rules. And meanwhile...
But then again, I feel like it's not even discussed, like, in the sequels. And it could just be where I feel like it's just the history of the Jedi, but, like, we watch Rey somewhat become a Jedi. But that's not really preached to her either. So... Mm-hmm.
Who knows? I mean, when it comes to the sequels, it probably just, I will say, I need to watch it again, but Rogue One was not my favorite. Rogue One was definitely not. Definitely, I think my favorite one was probably Force Awakens. The only reason why is because it gave that, like, Star Wars feeling, like, new things are happening. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it was hopeful. Like, you just felt like, oh, this is exciting. Like, it's something new. I can't wait to see what happens. And then just kind of spiraled. I mean, there were parts I liked about all of the films. Poor Finn.
Yes.
Poor Finn.
Finn was supposed to be so much more.
Yes.
Do you agree on the rumors that he was put to the sidelines because he was black?
No, I don't really think that that his character was shoved out of the light because of his skin color. I feel more it was like we really need to have a female protagonist. And I'm a female, obviously, so to me, I feel like sometimes they force that too much. And it's like, let's create this super distant, emotionless female who's supposed to be this tough, brave female that's stronger than everybody and leads everybody to victory. And I feel like they really try to push that now.
And funny and homey and, but not, comic relief either.
Yeah.
So she can't be too strong, she can't be too weak, she can't be too vulnerable.
She can't be... Yeah. So then you get this character who's absolutely bland.
Yeah.
To be honest. I thought Rey's character... I liked who she was in The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
But after that, she just became bland. I felt like...
She became a reflection of the characters around her.
Yeah. I don't know.
Like, let's say, she was definitely she was the best she ever was in The Force Awakens. Then she was a reflection of Kylo Ren's inner, turmoil. And with the rejection she was receiving from Luke, she completely shut down as a character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Until she was the beacon of all hope after a really badly done throne room scene. I remember watching it. I remember watching the team up. Oh, have you actually watched what people are doing in that fight? Mm-mm. People are kicking at nothing. People are moving to be hit. Yeah.
Mm.
But I don't know. And then in The Rise of Skywalker, Rey was just... I feel like it's what happened in the prequels. When we go from this hopeful young Jedi who's found love, and they are just angry and bitter for the sake of character development that we didn't see because they decided to relay it to comics or something like that. Something that I really think that they're doing well on right now is the character of Omega. This is the way, if you're going to do a female protagonist, because that's the thing about a female protagonist. You treat her the exact same way that you treat other.
Exactly. I was just getting ready to say that. Is that if you're going to put a female at the top, like she's going to be the main character, you should be focusing on how to make her a female protagonist. It should be, she's the protagonist of the story, treat her like you would anybody else. But I feel like they get so caught up on the fact that it's a female that it takes over how they...
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Well, as a male storyteller, I have a character in my book, Wild Space. Her name is Serena Toll. And I want so much for the best for Serena.
I love Serena.
Thank you. Grace has probably read the most of my book. Probably the best of my beta readers. But when I was writing Serena, I wanted to make sure that I was respecting a point of view that I did not know from experience. Mm-hmm. But the more I tried to tailor the story to her unique position as a female, I started to I didn't coddle the character, but I didn't allow the character to express a full range of emotions that I know as a human personally. I was logging out anger and, rash, quick thinking that you didn't really think it through like I would with my characters Lance or Volo. Mm-hmm. It also didn't help that these other two characters were so much older than Serena was. But I don't know how it came off in the book from an outsider's perspective, but I wanted to make sure that Serena Toll was her own character. And if you really had to nail it down, you could say, okay, well, yeah, she's female.
Yeah.
She's a woman. What's that matter?
Right, exactly. I got that from reading it. Like, I didn't feel like, oh, he has to shift his entire writing because now he's talking about a female character. And I feel like that's really, really messed up with Rey. If they just tried so hard to make her, oh, she's the strong female lead, and it's like, that's all she was.
She didn't have time to hurt.
Or be anything else. Like,
yeah. Anytime that they begun to, get deep with Rey, they threw in something random, like, Force pen pals.
Yes.
I respected that, but
then it became, like, they tried so hard to make her, like, this independent, strong female character. They tried so hard, they overcorrected, and she ended up just being the saving... She just became part of Kylo Ren's arc of redemption.
Yeah, I'm going to fix him.
And she became exactly the stereotype that they were trying to avoid.
Oh,
she just became the...
Oh, you've allowed the dark executive to twist this character until now. Until now, she's become the very thing you swore to destroy.
So original. I despised his character.
Kylo Ren?
Despised him.
Really?
Yes.
Now, why is that?
I felt that his character was made out to be like, oh, I need saved. Like,
okay.
He just, like, I felt like all the characters in that story had a struggle of some kind.
Okay.
Like, whether it was, like, with themselves or with an external thing in their life. Like, all the characters in the sequels were struggling. But it became his identity. And he just became this moody, affected character who's like, I'm being plagued with this terrible choice I have to make. And, oh no, I'm so sad and depressed and I need saved and...
Now, for you all at home to get the full effect, the amount of hair flips that just happened, borderline insane.
Woo!
But yeah, I can see what you mean.
He kind of had it was an Anakin like I felt like they were trying to make an Anakin.
Yeah.
I felt the same way watching Kylo Ren as I did watching Anakin. It's like, okay, you're struggling, so is everybody else. Like, grow up and deal with your problem, and stop trying to make it everybody else's problem. I don't know.
I was actually refreshed by the whole Kylo Ren Ben Solo thing. Maybe because I knew how it had been done in Legends. Kylo Ren, the character of Kylo Ren and Rey almost mirrors the sibling aspect of Jaina and Jason Solo from the expanded universe. So when we saw a character who was born with a dark side tendency, who was, kind of being like, the right thing to do is this, but he had a worldview that twisted that into, okay, but the right thing is weak. If I'm the one calling all the shots, then I can make sure that everybody's fine. That he had this God complex in The Force Awakens, and he was, very, committed to the dark side. And then we see the death of Han Solo.
Oh.
Yeah.
I cried. I've never cried like that in a movie. Real tears.
Have you watched after he touches Kylo's face? Have you seen it's very hard to see because he's, in a dark place wearing a dark outfit. Kylo pushes him. Like, if you look at him, his like arm is outstretched and he pushes Han off the bridge.
Oh.
Jeez.
Yeah.
See, and I almost wish, like, watching it, all the sequels unfold, I almost wish Kylo Ren hadn't decided to become good.
Yeah.
I feel like they built him up in Force Awakens, and I'm like, it'd be really cool to finally see a Star Wars villain not have a redemption arc.
And not be Palpatine.
Or
Maul.
Yes.
No, that scene. He's like, "Hey, kid." You're like,
I cried too.
Yes.
Yeah. Just because Han Solo is like my favorite character of all time.
Is he?
My favorite character.
How did you feel about Iden Eilrick in Solo?
I loved it. I was super against it. Didn't want to watch it. I was like, no, Harrison Ford is the only Han Solo ever. And I watched it and really enjoyed it. I could really not tell a difference.
I respected what he did because he was being a character that wasn't Han like we knew him, but you could see the echoes of who he would be.
Yeah, I felt like, oh, well, this is just Han before he became the Han that we knew. Yeah, I loved it.
Have you heard the rumors?
I have not.
They're thinking about it, instead of doing Solo 2, doing a Disney Plus show with Emilia Clarke and Iden Eilrick, continuing the thing.
That'd be good.
It would. But they've already brought back Kira. Did you hear about this? So, Star Wars right now, Marvel Comics, is doing a crossover event. I'm not a big comic guy.
I'm not either.
But, some of the better stories are in comics. Just how it is. Star Wars Legacy. Cade Skywalker. AKA, the lead singer from Nickelback.
"Ooh."
Is exactly who he looks like. Have you ever seen a picture of Cade Skywalker?
I haven't.
Yeah. Oh, pull him up.
Brad will do that.
Look at this case, yo.
Kira steals Han's frozen body from Boba Fett.
Oh.
He really does. Oh my god! Look at this photograph.
Oh my!
Every time I do it, makes me laugh.
So Cade Skywalker, that story, Star Wars Legacy, takes place 130 years after Return of the Jedi.
Whoa, yeah, I remember seeing this pic too. Look at that. That's him fighting Luke.
In a Force vision. Luke keeps haunting him. Kind of like how they were originally going to have Luke haunt Kylo Ren.
Oh.
Yeah. And so Cade picks up the Death Stick habit. I mean, I'm sure that you remember the scene in Attack of the Clones. You ought to buy some Death Sticks. You don't want to sell me Death Sticks. I don't want to sell you Death Sticks. You want to go home and rethink your life? I want to go home and rethink my life. Cade uses death sticks to block out the Force ghosts.
Huh. So, this is a little off topic.
Sure.
But why did they decide to not use Legends when they created the sequels?
Because,
I mean, like I said, not my area of expertise. I'm strictly Star Wars. My Star Wars knowledge is movie based.
Sure,
so,
yeah.
But I know that the Legends had a huge following. So why not use Legends to create the sequels?
I think it was the toxic fan base. It would have been impossible to recreate the then expanded universe on a film scale. It's too big.
But like, I feel like that would have been better than creating an entire cast that didn't exist, that didn't fit into anything that they had set up in any of the other films.
Exactly. But at the same token, and I'm going to kind of poke at your logic, we wouldn't have got the Mandalorian. We wouldn't have got, Ahsoka.
True.
Ahsoka.
Yeah, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, and I'm really glad that Dave is now the creative producer instead of Kathleen.
They saved Star Wars, I think.
Yes. Now, there is a rumor.
I don't like rumors.
Oh, there's a rumor. So there's this episode in Star Wars Rebels called The World Between Worlds. There's a temple on Lothal, which is the main planet they deal with, where Ezra Bridger's from. And do you know anything about Ezra? Ezra's this street kid who ends up joining one of the first rebel cells that bring the rebellion together before Rogue One.
Mm-hmm.
It's the animated show that Disney made before Rogue One to set up Rogue One.
Okay, yeah.
Ezra has this connection to his home planet, and he ends up opening a door based off of the father, the son, and the daughter, which are these Force entities that were also in Legends. They had a mother figure named Abeloth, which was a mortal that wanted to join her family in eternity, and actually ended up becoming this huge corrupting force that Luke Skywalker and his Jedi Academy had to deal with. But regardless, he ends up in this world where you hear echoes from across the timeline. He hears Qui-Gon go. The Force is made of midichlorians, bacteria in your blood that talk to the Force. Well, the Force is what gives a Jedi his, which is a new hope, which hasn't happened yet. Hearing Rey talk to Finn, hearing Kylo say, I will finish what you started. Hearing Anakin and Padme talking on Mustafar, and then he comes to this door. And he looks through the door.
I see what's happening here.
And Ahsoka is fighting Darth Vader. Which was an event that happened earlier in the show. And she force pushes Ezra out of the room, and she says, I'm not going to leave you this time. And they brought back the actor from Clone Wars, Matt Lanter, who did Anakin. He said, then you will die. Because his helmet had been ruptured, and you see the eye.
That was such a strong scene, too.
This is a point of divergence.
I see.
In the universe in which Ahsoka dies in that battle, she never meets the Mandalorian and never refuses to treat Grogu and never has them go to Tython, which means the Empire eventually kills Din Djarin and uses Baby Yoda, Grogu, his cells to create smoke, which spawns the sequel trilogy.
So basically, the Mandalorian is the storyline that prevents the sequels from happening.
That is the theory.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Love that.
And that we are going to get the Disney retcon, because there's also another rumor that George is coming back.
I
Not
heard
to
that.
own, but to help the battle.
So you think they're going to recreate... Well, see, I feel like... I'm not trying to be that kind of person, but I feel like there's a there's casual Star Wars viewers who've watched the films just because they came out. Oh, and everybody's talking about them. And then there's people like, well, there's you guys who know everything that there is to know, and there's people like me who kind of know, but I kind of understand the storyline.
You're a bit more hardcore of a fan than a casual viewer.
Yes, but a casual viewer, I feel like, they're going to be like, this doesn't make sense. Why are we watching another set of sequels?
Exactly.
So.
But would a casual fan care?
Probably not.
That's the thing. And if they can explain it in something like an episode like The World Between Worlds, that could be a way to appease the fandom, but it would really spit on a cast that genuinely tried to make a good go.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
You're good.
That's it.
Man, did you see the spike on the audio?
That's awesome.
That's horrible. But would you be willing to watch redone sequels?
I would, yeah. I think so.
I feel like anything Star Wars right now with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, like if they're doing it, then it's worth watching because it's perfect.
But we've
I
lost
feel like
Harrison and Carrie.
Yes. I feel like...
You know what they might do? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I feel like it's good to let those... I feel like... I kind of have like two different opinions about it. I really enjoyed seeing the characters come back.
Yeah.
But I also like, let their characters die. Let them go. You know, there's always going to be... Everybody's going to remember Han Solo and Leia.
Woo!
I almost forgot Leia.
Everyone gonna remember.
I almost said Carrie. And I was like, her name's Leia.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's unnecessary at this point to continue with the old cast cameos.
Yeah. Well, especially after the passing away of...
you know what they probably could do, though? They could get Carrie Fisher's daughter to play her.
Billy Lord?
Yeah. And then get...
Oh, and just to specify, I realized that I said we didn't have Harrison and Carrie anymore. Well, I mean, Harrison doesn't want to. Carrie's, unfortunately, no longer with us.
Yeah. But they could probably get Carrie Fisher's daughter to play Leia.
Yeah.
And they could probably get the guy who played Han to play Han again.
Right.
That would work.
And then do, like, aging like they did for De Niro and the Irishman.
Maybe, yeah. But you think they would still maybe... Because I know the big rumor was Sebastian Stan was supposed to be the new Luke. But...
And that's who I thought was Luke in the last episode of The Mandalorian.
It was Hamill deep-faked onto a body double.
Yeah, it wasn't... But it looked exactly like Sebastian Stan.
Yeah. Sebastian went on record and said, if Mark Hamill gives me permission, I will do it. And Mark Hamill said, I think you're great, but I don't have a say. He did great in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
That's true.
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh.
No, and I won't watch something unless...
I'm sorry.
I don't like watching shows while they're in production. I like to watch them all when they come out, so there's no surprises. What? Mandalorian's the exception.
That's more of a party show with our friends.
That's a party show.
That really is.
Though, can I really say it's the friend group? Because it's just been us three and one other person a few times.
Yeah.
Mm. Man, it's so good. But that would be really cool, though, to get, as much as I hate to say it, like you said, the fan base is very, very toxic. A lot of people have, a lot of the original fans pulled away with last year. Like, I don't care, I don't want nothing to do with it.
I feel like the original fans are the most toxic.
Yeah. Well,
they're like, this is the Star Wars I grew up with, and it's the only way to watch Star Wars.
Yeah. I feel that if they went and they did... I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
I can see
ahead.
you're struggling.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, a statement like that is against the spirit of Star Wars.
Well, I'm sorry. I just mean... Oh, you're not talking about me. You're talking about, like, my hypothetical...
Yes.
Okay. I was like, well...
No, I wasn't coming at you.
This is gun fucking blatantly. Listen here.
I just know that I know several people personally who are
purists.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's how I was raised. I was raised by Star Wars purists. Like, this is the only way to watch it. We won't watch any other Star Wars movies. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
They wouldn't get that reference.
No, they wouldn't get that reference.
But no, like what I'm saying, if it's so gatekept that we're at that point, that really does defeat the purpose of Star Wars, what it has become to people.
Yeah.
Oh, what's it mean to you guys?
What, Star Wars?
Yeah, what's Star Wars mean to you? We'll go back to the first grade.
If I may quote Carrie Fisher from Rogue One, what does Star Wars mean to you? Hope. That's the way I see Star Wars, because Star Wars. I mean, we watched Empire of Dreams. Well, you showed me Empire of Dreams a few weeks back, and that showed me that it's just like what Stan Lee said. I know this is completely off topic, but if you have a good idea and you know it's really good, don't let anyone tell you any different. And that's exactly like the whole thing with Star Wars. I remember you even telling me nobody believed, even the actors in Star Wars didn't believe Star Wars was going to go that good.
This is going to hold me over my paycheck until I get something big, maybe a spy flick later.
Yeah. And then,
to find the rest of their lives.
Yeah. And it's just like, one man had this idea. He's like, this is going to work. I know it's going to work. And George Lucas is the epitome of, if you have an idea and you put in the work and you don't let yourself do anything to hinder that, it's gonna work out. And that's the one thing with Star Wars. It's like it's the epitome of, there's tons of ideas, tons of lore, tons of ways that you can expand, and it's never ending, and you're always gonna have something to guide your own creative thinking with.
Yeah. George Lucas is a huge example of why I even attempted to write a novel. I mean, daggone. I remember when I started out, I was like, man, what's really messed up? Well, probably crypto and how dangerous it is for, people who deal with cash. And then I started thinking about it. And I started thinking about it hard. I was like, well, what if it got so bad that there was no hard representation of money, and then someone deleted it, and there was no backup? Oh man, well then that would create, societal upheaval. Well, that's not good. Well, I wonder what kind of a story that would be. Well,
Here we are. Why?
And the whole thing, for anybody who ends up reading the book with the conglomerate, is like, the first book almost feels like a prequel, like a prologue to the greater plot, because I have to establish how vital the conglomerate and the BTCS system is, which is a redundancy because the BTCS stands for Biological Transferable Credit System, so the BTCS, and then don't say system.
System.
Yeah, system. But, and then in book 2, we kind of get to, what happens when you take away people's security. What does that do to people? Kind of a thing. And, some people haven't finished the book yet. Can't really spoil. I believe in you, Brad. I believe in you, and you get there too. Now, Grace, I think that you got to the end of Act 1.
I did.
You did. So, did you get past Act 2 though?
Not yet.
Right. Well, when you were beta reading it for me, which is where the majority of your stuff went, your experience with it went, there have been several edits from that version to the final product. So
I'm going to start over.
Yeah, a good reread would be healthy for it. And that's the thing, is that anytime I ever talk with any of you guys about my book, I read at your own leisure. Like, I'm not like, hey, help me out. No, I mean, if people enjoy it, they'll read it. I mean, I've sold 50 copies, which is, 45 more than I thought I'd sell.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's... Did you have any, like, impressions about that whole thing, or...
About what? About your book?
Yeah, just
I like
how it was going?
I'm a fan. I like your writing style.
Thank you.
I felt it was super easy for me to connect with each character. Like, I've read books where, you're reading from different perspectives, and I felt like, oh my gosh, it's jumping around, and there's always a character that I wanted to read more than the others.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I didn't really pay attention when I read through some of the characters, and then I get to the character I wanted to read about.
Yeah.
But I felt like with yours, I was like, oh yeah, I've liked reading all three characters.
Is there one of them that you generally preferred?
I mean, Serena, of course, because I just felt connected to her.
Yeah. Serena, she's... I don't even think that it's an issue with, gender or anything like that.
No, I just think...
I think it's an age thing.
Yeah.
She's a 20-something. She's afraid of her own potential, but she's ambitious and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I struggle a lot with writing for Serena. Book 2 opens up something that I think that might, be popular, might not be, is I do add many more than just the core 3 from the first book. You're dealing with, I think, so if you count the first 3, probably 7 people total.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, that's a whole thing. Only got 10 more chapters right now. And then I'll do some heavy editing. I need to do a re-release of the first book and include the prologue of the second book.
Yeah, that'd be good.
I just think that that's really, really unfortunate for all the people who bought the first run of the book, though.
Right.
So I don't know if I'm gonna wait until the year anniversary.
Yeah, I would do that. Wait a little bit.
Do a soft, because, and this is probably a real bad thing to admit. I wrote the first book in 6 months.
You did, very quickly.
I'm writing the second book, and it's only been 4.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm almost done.
I don't think that's a bad thing.
Well, it's not Star Wars. It's certainly not Star Trek.
Yeah.
It doesn't really take itself too seriously. And I'm going to have plenty to expand on. I mean, there are 12 planned books. There's the Edge trilogy, which you're pretty familiar with. Then I've got a couple of prequel, anthology books about a couple of older characters, how they kind of ended up being how they were in book 1. I've got a side trilogy setting up a particular faction, which will probably be more endeared to people who enjoy military science fiction than, a space opera. And then I've got my final chapters of the original storyline that kind of
ties it all together.
Yeah. Though I kind of had a general theme with the Edge trilogy. It was all about, what is beyond this asteroid field. Well, by the time we get to this last trilogy that I'm going to write, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I have no idea what to call it. I mean, it's going to be Wild Space, but...
Yeah.
Wild Space what? I don't know.
But back to the whole thing, you writing your story in 6 months, and it's 4 months, you're almost done. I mean, if you know what you're going to type, if you know the story, then I think you should be... I mean, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know what you want, and you do it...
Right.
I mean, it's perfect.
And I am an independent author. I don't have a publisher being like, well, Ryan, you really should take this a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite authors is George R.R. Martin. This guy releases, 5 books over the course of 25 years. It seems like I'm rushing a little bit. But then you take, Stephen King, do we know what his average is for writing a book?
I know in an interview, he said when he's writing a book, he likes to get at least 6 good pages a day.
Right.
That's his thing. He's like, that's my... minimum quota.
Right.
6 good pages a day.
Now, is he talking like typed or like typewriter?
I think it's typed out. Well, let me see.
Sure.
That way we can figure it out.
Right.
How long does Stephen King write a book?
Oh no, are we talking about Stephen King?
King likes to write 6 to 10 pages a day over a 3-month span. He said that the first draft, even a long one, should take no more than 3 months. The length of a season, he says.
Really?
Mm-hmm. That's what he says.
Wow.
How many hours a day does he write? Ooh. King's formula to learning to write well is read and write 4 to 6 hours a day. If you cannot find the time for that, you can't expect to become a good writer. He sets out each day with a quota of 2,000 words and will not stop writing until it is met.
Huh. I didn't know any of that, but my general thing is if I can get based on, statistical averages, I want my books to be no longer than, 100,000 words. No one wants to read through a tome.
Yeah, that's true.
It's intimidating. People don't read like they used to. But still, I might as well start writing comic books if I'm not going to write a lot.
Yeah.
So, industry standard for science fiction is 100,000 words plus. So, okay. Well, 34 is a decent enough number. 3,000 words spread over 34 chapters is generally about that. So, if I can get 3,000 words a chapter, that allows the pacing of the book, as long as there's something going on, to continue to have something going on. Anytime that I'm not focusing on a main character, but I'm doing, a chapter, I'll cut it down to 1,500 to 2,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I have a lot of fun with the High Councilman Traven.
I liked
Did you
him
like
a
it?
lot.
So, I was very, very conflicted about bringing him or Magister Antioch into the sequel.
I like them both, though.
Do you really like Antioch?
I do.
I struggle writing Antioch.
I couldn't tell.
He's such a bad person.
Such a bad person. I feel like that's what I would struggle writing people that I didn't agree with.
Right.
I mean, and that kind of goes back to your question about like, what does Star Wars mean to you? Like, watching Star Wars, I loved the conflict of good versus evil, because I grew up like you did, kind of in a very religious household, and so your concept of good versus evil is very biblical and not super. I mean, I don't find it to be super accurate for real life.
Yeah.
So watching Star Wars, and this is kind of lame, but like, you really get to see like, this is what good looks like, this is what evil looks like, and this is what it looks like in between. And that just because you're this way doesn't mean you're inherently evil, or just because you're this way, you're not inherently good. And not being inherently good or inherently evil makes you a bad or a good person. And that's kind of like what Star Wars meant to me as a kid, because I was like, oh, it's so much more than church.
Yes.
So
one of the greatest fictional quotes I've ever seen, I don't know if it's in the book or if it's just in the movie, is Sirius Black in Order of the Phoenix.
He's my favorite character in Harry Potter.
Oh, mine too. He says, we each have good and bad inside of us. It's the part that we choose to act on that defines us.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Sirius
so
went
great.
too soon.
Too soon.
It was between him and Bill Weasley.
Yeah.
Not Bill. Him and
Was it a Weasley?
it was Papa Weasley.
Arthur.
Arthur Weasley. I kind of wanted it to be Arthur.
Yes.
But really,
Sirius was my favorite Harry Potter character.
I heard
100%.
I heard a fan casting one time, and it was Matt Smith as James Potter, Kit Harington as Sirius Black, Adam Driver as Severus Snape.
Oh my gosh, that would be so great. I can see Kit Harington being young Sirius Black.
He would have to learn how to laugh, though.
He would. He would. I did not like.
No potions class has ended. Oh.
Nah, season 7. I came out here to brood, and you're doing that better than me too, Tyrion to Jon.
Yeah. I hated Jon the first 2 seasons of Game of Thrones. Hated.
Really?
He fell into that whiny boy, Anakin, Kylo Ren
kind of thing.
I don't like that.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like...
Then Maester Aemon got a hold of him. Kill the boy, Jon Snow. Let the man come out. Now, Grace.
Okay.
You need to watch. You need to read Game of Thrones.
I've made it through most of the first book. I don't... No offense, anybody out there. Nobody's gonna... Not that anybody's gonna hear it, but I don't like George R.R. Martin's writing. I don't like the way he writes.
Much like as you go, it improves. Book 3 changes the entire story. From season 3 to season 5, he hasn't written 6, 7, or 8. It is so unrecognizable. I am more excited about his next book than I am rumors of them redoing season 8.
Okay, well that gives me hope.
Because the Night's Watch is different. Jamie's different. Specifically, the dynamic between Jamie and Brienne.
Good, because the way they did it in the show was terrible.
No, so you get a point of view chapter from Jamie during the famous bath scene.
Oh, where she stands up.
And he experiences a little bit of some wood in the bath, and he's like, I've been away from Cersei for too long. And you see that first little crack.
Yeah.
To the point where, okay, do you remember when Jamie went to River Run? And he got it back from the Blackfish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And you remember that in King's Landing, we had done the Walk of Shame?
Yeah.
Okay. Not really going to spoil anything, but that's not how that goes down when he comes back. That's not how that goes down at all.
Really?
Like, to the point where he throws away the letter. And then it starts snowing. Completely different.
Wow.
The whole trip for Sam and Gilly to the Citadel. Sam runs into Arya. Sam runs into Arya.
Ooh.
Doesn't know that it's her. She's doing her faceless man training.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. And
See, it's not... Well, I enjoyed reading the parts of the book so far. Like,
that you can identify with.
Dialogue between characters is great.
Yeah.
Like, I can, read through it, no problem. It's super interesting.
It's
but
the inner monologue.
It's in between when characters are just... When he's setting up, I feel like he over-describes everything. 3 pages about the kind of wood that the boat is made out of. It's unnecessary. Stephen King does it too.
I do it.
It's hard not to, because I feel like you want to paint this perfect picture. But I feel like less is more when it comes to, because if you're reading, you're seeing it play out. So even if you say, this is this color, this is what this looks like, this is how big it is.
Even if you didn't, the reader would do it instead.
We would do it ourselves. And I feel like, but everything else is great. But the interactions between the characters is just, I just read it straight through.
I prefer Varys in the books.
I do too. I mean, just with what I've read, I think he's super Interesting.
Super. Yeah. I kind of got away from that. I couldn't edit my first book in a way that I could preserve the tone.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of painting a picture, I took the approach that I would begin a scene with a character going, "This is where I am."
Yeah.
And then as it goes on, I would
kind of
paint in sensory elements.
Yes, and you know who does I may not agree with her as a person, but she does a fantastic job. J.K. Rowling does a great job. I don't like the first Harry Potter book that much, especially after you get into the Harry Potter universe and kind of like you're really into it. You don't need that first book because she spends the majority of the book setting up this entire world.
Exactly.
But she does it so well that she doesn't have to do it again. And the further you go on, you just understand, oh, this is what this would look like, or this is where this is at.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
The first chapter of The Sorcerer's Stone is one of my favorites. People think I'm crazy. But introducing her Potterverse through the eyes of someone as close-minded as Vernon Dudley was so nice.
It was. I think so.
I cannot replicate it.
Mm-mm.
I can't do it at all. I've tried.
Yeah, because you're like, oh, it could be a book about wizards and magic, and it's just this plain...
Drill salesman.
The most plain person you can pick. But it's kind of interesting to see how, like, the whole world is shaped by just the way that he sees it. I don't know, it's interesting.
Have you read the first Harry Potter book recently? Like, recently?
Yes. I read it a couple months ago.
So, how crazy is it to, as a fan, go back and look and be like, oh, that's this. And Vernon has no idea.
Yes.
That is excellent world building.
It's fantastic.
I'm so removed from the politics with people here lately, with the Twitter mob and the cancel culture.
Yeah.
I don't know really what she did other than she upset people in a community that had for a long time assumed that she was an ally.
Yeah, I think to kind of like just quickly lay it out, I believe that I don't know where or how she said it, but I believe that she alluded to the fact that she believed that trans women weren't true women. And that kind of
like the mid-'80s, early '90s view of the difference between pre and post operations.
Exactly. Kind of like, well...
Described in Silence of the Lambs.
Yes, so they kind of describe her as they call her a TERF, which means a TERF. I don't know how to explain it. Basically, like, she's a feminist, but she's exclusive to only, like...
what she considers feminine.
Exactly. So, I think that the people were upset that, I feel like Harry Potter kind of became a safe place for people who
didn't fit in. And she kind of like... And that's universal.
Yeah, went against that and was like, oh, well, trans women aren't women.
Right.
Not to get political here, but that's kind of, I think, where that came from. But it doesn't I don't think it discredits her.
I am able to separate her work from her politics.
Yes, because a lot of times, I don't read work because it's this person's work. I'm not one of those people, like, oh, well, so-and-so wrote it, so I have to read it because... it's not the name doesn't matter to me. It's the story.
Yeah. Like the Casual Vacancy. I love J.K. Rowling.
I thought that book was great.
I have no desire to read it.
I thought I got it on a whim because I needed something to read, and I saw her name on it, and I was like, oh well.
Might as well. Yeah.
It was very different from Harry Potter.
I'm sure it was refreshing for her.
It was unrecognizable, but I thought it was good.
Yeah. That's my big thing. I'm afraid of delving so much into sci-fi without also delving into other things.
So you'll become just a sci-fi writer?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've got so many projects that I haven't even talked to you all about.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Wild Space. I've got a fantasy series that I'm trying to develop the world for.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not Tim. I put Tim away. Tim only exists in D&D. I've got I'm definitely fiction. I've got this random slice of life novel that I'm getting ready to write.
Mm-hmm.
About a stockbroker, lawyer, big wig, executive, city slicker, settling down in Montana because his car broke down.
Huh.
Just no action, nothing, just, what do you want out of life?
Yeah.
Like,
That's a good
That's
idea.
Very separate from...
very different. And it's got this little town full of people who are that kind of like, backwood rural, but also there are people who have tried to get out of the small town. Us being from a place like this, we feel that.
Yeah.
Well, what happens when you fail and you have to come back? What do people say about you, and how does that affect you?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna kind of develop that later.
I like that.
I call it In the Valley right now.
I like it.
Yeah. Definitely there's a comfort zone thing.
Mm-hmm.
I've been thinking about redoing my original book. I wrote a short novel when I was a junior in high school. I called it The Island, but
I've heard it. I remember this.
I ended up renaming it to The Isle of the Phoenix.
Interesting.
And I've thought, I owe it to, 15, 16-year-old, 17-year-old Ryan to give that thing a polish. And I think I may have found, because it's all written in the notebook.
Mm-hmm.
There are 3 notebooks that are stapled together somewhere in my home.
Yeah.
And and I went back in my memory, because you can do that. It's like a computer. Nah. But I went back and I tried to remember how it was. It is exactly the same way right now. Except instead of 3 protagonists, I had 6. It was way too much, and the story got bogged down, and there were way too many time jumps that nothing happened where things would happen if you're stranded on an island.
Mm-hmm.
And it had a lot to do with psychological horror.
I love that.
There was this character named Thomas, and he had been abused and sent to England to be schooled.
Mm-hmm.
This is in the backdrop of the American Revolution. People are fleeing America, going back to London, because at least these people aren't shooting each other.
Yeah.
And Thomas ended up having a mental breakdown. And he sold out. There are these 2 tribes on this island. Those who were civilized.
Mm-hmm.
And they were over on this side of the island. Then there were the indigenous people of the island. They were naturally cannibalistic. One guy from the other group decided to walk over there and teach them how to survive. And he became the chief kind of a thing. Very, very, he was a British officer in the military who was supposed to assist a lieutenant at the time, Washington, during the French and Indian War. Never got there. Militarized the cannibals into this kind of like predatory society. So the first chapter opens up, and there's this guy. He was the cook, and he's just kind of like looking around on the beach in the morning after the storm wrecks them, and he's like, "This is bad." So he gets what he can, and he climbs up on this rock where he can see the beach, and he falls asleep. And he wakes up, and there's lights in the jungle, and they start coming out of the jungle. But it's not just the adults. They brought their children. they'll give the kids a leg or an arm, and they'll get the torso and the head. They're like picking eyeballs. I'm like 16, 17 writing this. My creative writing teacher was like,
I did that too.
right? This is really good, but you okay? And I'm like, oh yeah, this is and I got into this long-winded discussion about how there was a societal difference between a living person and a corpse to these cannibals. Mm-hmm. And they would never just eat someone alive. They'd wait until they were dead.
Would wait till they're dead.
That's a tool. That's a resource.
I love it.
And they end up finding a German mercenary who was supposed to watch the captain's niece. He's not dead. So they don't eat him. They drag him back to the village. Mm-hmm. Fredrickson sees this and decides to go. But he meets up with Thomas, who's been tripping in a cave because of an infection that he had got on the way over, so he was starting to lose his mind.
Yeah.
He ends up having a mental break and sells out Fredrickson to the cannibals, who then beat him. And when he passes,
they eat him.
But they pickle his head. The chief does.
Yeah.
And it ended up being this horrible thing. And I have a fear of being buried alive. Mm-hmm. That's how I introduced another one of my characters. His name was John something, but he went by Hawk because he was always in the crow's nest. But there were no crows where he was, so. So it ended up being this really horrible thing where the captain's niece buried him in a makeshift coffin, and he woke up.
Ooh.
So he finally tears his hands up. Mm-hmm. So a very capable character can no longer fight.
Yeah.
Busts out of the driftwood coffin, looks to his right, and there she is. She's like, So they go and they hide in a cave that they can still see the beach. They see the cannibals come out with the torches. Oh, they're people. Well, no, we should watch what's going on. They start eating. Mm-hmm. Very short book, very short chapters, but I think that if I were to find the original manuscript, I might be able to turn it into something.
Yeah.
But knowing how I was back then, I would have to filter out so much angst.
I did that too in a creative writing class too. I wrote this short story and it was so morbid.
What was it about?
It was like a dystopian kind of like in the future kind of thing. So there was only cities.
Uh-huh.
Never really just got into, because it was a short story.
Exactly.
Never really got into why, but everybody congregated in big cities. And the lower levels of the city were run and kind of lived in by the lower income. And the higher parts of the city, like way up high, were the higher society, rich people.
Oh.
And so to kind of help with like trading and like kind of help with the economy, they would have a group of people round up poor people who were caught in the street. So they only like kind of ran at night. During the day, these people would come out kind of like street sweepers, the trucks, and like load up people in the truck and take them to these big facilities, kind of like separate them based on like size and ability and like age, and kind of it was kind of like a factory. It kind of moved through the system where they were kind of picked apart and sorted and led to these rooms where they were implanted with a chip in their brain, and it kind of, the chip overrided their humanity. They weren't really people, they were kind of more like controlled, and they were sold to the richer people as like, cleaned the house or worked in their factories or took care of their kids.
Indentured labor.
Yes.
Ooh.
And so the story I wrote for my English class was like opened on a guy who woke up. So kind of like, through the process of the people getting captured in the street and put into the facility, they're kind of tranquilized. So they're not really aware of what's going on. They do until they get injected, they get the chip planted, and they kind of just become completely overwashed with the system that controls their brain and tells them what their functions are.
Almost like a lobotomy.
Exactly. But they're kind of implanted with this is a chip, and the chip's computer, and it runs their brain to do whatever they're intended to do. So they become like human robots.
Yeah.
So
you could almost say a restraining bolt from Star Wars.
Yeah. So a guy wakes up mid-process. Like, he wakes up and he's like in a holding cell. He's like, what am I doing here? And it's kind of like the process of him trying to figure out what's going on and understands, oh, like, this is where I'm going. He sees people going, like, being, like, children and parents being ripped apart, and the children being drugged from rooms, like, screaming and crying. And somehow he gets implanted, but the implant doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And he's aware. But he's like, I have to pretend like I'm being controlled, even though I'm not. And it's kind of like his story of how he's trying to figure out, he doesn't know where he came from or his backstory, because the chip kind of removed his memory. Yeah. So,
it's like a computer running out of memory.
Yeah. So he didn't really remember where he came from, why he was captured in the first place. Right. I had names for like kind of like this slang names for the people that lived in the street versus the people that lived above. And he didn't know where he came from. It was kind of like his story of kind of like figuring out where he came from and pretending to be, I don't know. But yeah, I can feel you about the angst. Yeah. It was totally like a societal angst, like rebellion.
That's
kind
fine.
Of thing.
I'm afraid of cryptocurrency. That's why I'm in sci-fi. But have you ever thought about going back and revisiting that?
I have, but I don't know where to find it. That's our cats. Sorry about it.
Woohoo!
Can you know?
That's Azula, folks. She's the wild one.
I prefer hash brown, my little loaf of cat.
Who's sitting like a perfectly good little boy, just curled up.
Now we've said something.
Yeah.
I have no way of going back and finding it.
No, different memory.
I don't know. I feel like it was better when I wrote it, and now I can't.
But now you know them better.
Yeah. And I created an entire fantasy world when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
And wrote like 6 to 10 like one subject notebooks full of this fantasy novel.
Well, whatever happened to them?
I threw it away. Because my mom told me that.
That was my neck, bro.
Azula just sneezed right on old Ryan's neck.
My mom was and no offense, Mom, not that you're ever going to hear this, but my mom was very like, you need to focus on school, you need to study, you need to be like art and writing and stuff like that. Like, it's not going to get you anywhere.
Conceal, don't feel. Don't let them know.
Yes, exactly. So like I was really into drawing as a kid and writing. I wrote a lot of stuff when I was a kid, but my mom was like, that's really dumb. Like, school's more important. You need to study. You need to be...
These are applicable skills.
You're going to be a doctor when you grow up. So I created this entire fantasy world and wrote this. I wrote most of what I was going to do as the first book. I threw it away. Because my mom told me it was dumb and not worth the time. And that, that's stupid. Like, it's not going to... You're wasting all your time focusing on this. You should be doing your homework, and then I kind of got mad, threw it all away. So,
do you ever think about maybe you owe it to little 10-year-old Grace to kind of try and do something like that again?
I thought about it, but I don't have any original creative ideas where I thought that I wasn't rewriting something that I was like, sometimes I think I'm going to write something, or I'm going to create something.
Sure.
And then I'm like, I'm just creating a reflection of something that I already like.
That's everything.
Fair.
You know how many times I look at Wild Space and I'm like, it's just financial Star Wars. or it's just, Star Trek, but not as advanced, or it's, whatever. But as long as you believe in it, just like when you were planning your first D&D campaign, Brad.
Oh, gosh.
I said, if you believe in it, the party will believe in it. If you write something, really think about it. Be like, okay, well, what does this mean for me? How do I feel about it? I mean, daggone, do you think that, like, you love Avatar: The Last Airbender?
I do.
So much of that is lifted from, Asian influences. No one complains. The very schools of martial arts that were studied to show the animation are based on the 4 elements that are shown in the show. So really,
everything's based on something.
Exactly. But you've got very, very intelligent. You've got it in you to make something unique.
Yeah. And seeing, like, now I love, like, if I would write something, I would write something nonfiction. I like hearing people talk about their lives and their stories and talk about themselves and things they've experienced. Like, if I were going to write something, it'd be nonfiction.
Sure.
I love telling other people. Like, I would love the idea of telling somebody else's story.
Right.
Because I love that. I like listening to people talk about their lives and things they've seen and experienced.
Yeah. Why not do that? You could start with, probably not going to publish them, but do some personal memoirs. Go back in your deepest memories, and then, cry yourself into a puddle. When
I don't think anybody would want to hear that.
Well, at least you would have it.
That's fair.
And it would be Brad, Journey to 30. Well, what about you, Brad? How was your style as a youngster? No, I'm teasing. What's your experience with writing?
I'm not the best writer when it comes to, like, making up stories. I've been told by a couple of teachers that I'm good at, like, writing emotions. But other than like actually sitting down and writing a story, I'm not the best at. I typically tend to write it as if I'm just like, oh, well, this is what this is, instead of actually writing like, well, this is this, and the foundation of that comes from that part. When it comes to that, I guess I'm not really much into, like, writing a big story, but I feel like I'm more capable of, like, figuring out, like, characters.
Right.
Like, writing, like, a character's background and, like, stuff like that.
Almost any time that I have snooped and read over your shoulder, I have found that you almost exclusively write in the first person.
Yes. He does. I've read some of his stuff.
Well, that's to be expected. Me, I can't write in the first person. Messes me up. I don't know why I can't do it. But I am almost... So I use this program called AutoCrit. Shout out to AutoCrit. Give me a discount.
Sponsor this.
Yeah, sponsor me. And I did an analytical run on my tenses. I do past tense most, third person most, second person second. And I might need to brush up on my, English. I can almost never remember exactly how second person perspective flows.
It's second person's weird. It's almost like saying you. It's like
Second person point of view uses the pronoun you to address the reader. This narrative voice implies that the reader is either the protagonist or a character in the story. The events are happening to them.
Yep.
So like an interior monologue. Oh, you never would have, for as far back as I can remember. Or
did you ever read World War Z?
No.
The handbook.
I heard it was good.
Yeah, it's written in second person. It's kind of like you are doing this or you're going to do this.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of basically when you write that way, you're putting the person that's reading it into the story, and they're the person experiencing it.
Oh, wow.
Kind of like a manual. I always think of it like a manual type thing. Like,
Yeah.
You will do this. You will marry Loris Tyrell. You will.
yeah. It puts it's a weird style where it's like the author is writing to the person that's reading, and the person that's reading is the person that's the main focus of the story.
Almost like a Lemony Snicket kind of thing. You really should shut this book right now.
Exactly.
It's not a very nice story.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Lemony Snicket books.
I never read them.
You should, even now. I think. Mm-hmm. I think that they are very unique. But I don't know, Brad. I think that you've got it in you to really develop something if you wanted to.
Yeah, I just don't think I got the attention span.
Right.
I feel that.
You would never believe what a week in isolation will do for your creative vision.
Oh.
It was terrible. At least you had each other.
We did, yeah.
We did.
So a little bit of
such a good time.
Backstory. Our entire friend group got COVID.
That was a fun time.
I'm sorry, Fauci, but game night was not going to be held.
No.
So, I should have known when Graham started chugging the whiskey.
I know. It was suspicious. He drank an entire bottle of Crown Royal whiskey.
With no chaser.
With no chaser, straight.
No, not even, like, he did it at first. Then he poured it into a glass.
And just drank it.
And just drank it like it was apple juice.
Casually. It was terrible. We should have known something was up.
I thought he'd die.
He did.
Really? Because I got a little fed up with the situation and left.
He did die.
Which is how I thought I skipped it.
I told Graham, I said, Graham Kinder, I got my car detailed today. I'm going to take you home. You better either stay here at Nick's or throw up before we leave, and I'm not driving home. I was so mean to him.
Hey.
And he did. He was like, okay, I'm sorry. And he walked out in the field and made himself throw up. Made himself throw up before he got in my car.
Good.
Yeah, he drank an entire bottle of Crown and was like nothing. That should have been our first sign.
Well, daggone, he soiled himself in my car one time.
Oh.
Oh, God.
But see, Graham called Brad. It's like, hey, I've got COVID. And the only thing I was like really tired. I kept like falling asleep sitting up. Like, I was so tired. I've never felt that tired before. Brad's like, Graham's got COVID. I'm going to go get tested. Brad went and got tested. Brad wasn't even sick. I think Brad was a little bit congested, maybe. Brad's like, I've got COVID. And I was like, shit. If Graham's got COVID and Brad's got COVID, I've got COVID too. So I went and got tested, and they're like, oh, who have you been around? I'm like, oh, Graham and Brad. And they were here earlier, like, oh, honey, we're going to swab you, but you've got COVID.
Yeah, nothing beats it. I sat down, and they said, oh, well, who was it that you came in contact with? I said, somebody that came in here originally. His name was Graham, and his sister came. And I was with them for a little bit. They're like, oh, okay, well, we'll get right back with you. Door closes. Yeah, two's got it. And I was like, oh, fuck.
So,
and then Ryan pretended to be okay.
I did not pretend.
5 days. He's like, oh, it's just a cold. I'll be fine.
It was the greatest thing.
Coughing
Ryan was like, I'll be fine.
And we're like,
I'll be
got
fine.
COVID. And he's like, I'm fine.
I'm fine. It's fine. I will not bow to this sickness.
Ends up in the hospital.
Oxygen dropped to 60%. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Have I never told you the logistics?
They didn't intubate you?
They didn't intubate me.
Why?
I was in brain damaging levels.
Yes.
Of oxygen. They let me sit in the emergency room for 3 hours. And I'm sitting here like... They even did
I work at this hospital that Ryan is talking about now.
Hippo.
No offense. Well, we didn't say the name of the hospital, so it's okay.
Well, so... I remember how y'all treated me. I might just.
Let's just call this hospital hospital.
Hospital.
Yes. I didn't work there at this time, so I would not have let this happen.
It's true.
I would
So
have been very
they finally
angry.
wheeled me up, and they put me on the 6th floor in the corner of the wing, on the edge, looking at.
I know where you are.
Yeah, I was in that last room,
Bitches.
beach ripping. So they put me in there. They're like, okay, well, we're gonna do this, and we might put you on the vent. And I took the air mask off.
Were you on the BiPAP or something?
Yeah. I was like, don't put me on the vent. We're talking about Star Wars. I was Darth Vader.
I don't know why they should have intubated you.
And they said, okay, well, because when they applied oxygen, I immediately improved.
Okay, good.
But I don't remember the next 3 days. And then finally I got a hold of my phone and I started texting people on Facebook.
I remember those messages.
And I remember very vaguely, I was like, I'm sorry, I really need to use the restroom. Okay. Well, they didn't come for like an hour and a half. So when they got me out of bed, I soiled myself.
Yeah.
So I washed myself off because I have pride. And they gave me a really crappy pair of pants that were like 3 sizes too big because I'm too fat to have regular, but I'm not skinny. I'm too skinny to be like, fat sisters. So and I just sat there for another 6 days. Horribly.
Did you stay there the whole time, or did you move?
So they gave me a plasma treatment, and I said to myself, Ryan, if you do not start to move, you will die in here. And it was this really
I'm so
crazy.
glad you didn't say that out loud, because even doctors will take a sense of impending doom as very serious. If a patient says, I'm going to die here, the doctor's like, oh shit, we got to do something right now, because that is such an indicator of, listen, we take that so seriously. So if you said that out loud, they're probably like, oh shit, he's really going to die here.
Oh, well, I'm muttering it under my breath. I'm like, I'm not gonna shit my pants one more time. So I would stand up. I'd get really, really dizzy, but I'd force myself to stand up, walk a couple steps, come back, sit down, and I made myself do that for the next 3 days, and my oxygen levels kept rising. And I was like, okay, all right. I like to think that I was jamming out to some 80s montage music.
Yeah.
The heart's on fire.
Oh, nah, Karate Kid, man.
Oh, you're the best around. Look at that one.
When are you gonna die? You sleep tonight? Yeah.
Gotta bring those oxygen levels up.
Well, I also naturally have sleep apnea, right?
Yeah, so that puts you at higher risk.
Exactly. So they give me this mega mask because I was fitted for one that was pretty comfortable.
Was it the big one that went all the way around?
Yeah, and like that.
Yeah, it was
my
on your
forehead.
head. Yeah.
Oh,
They're terrible.
so I couldn't. I needed a shower about day 6, day 5. I said, hey, look, I don't know if you take tips or what. I'll give you whatever I can give you to get me in the shower. Please. Please. And this woman's looking at me, Mr. Hendrick, you can't stand in the shower. I'll give you a sponge. But I said, ma'am, I cannot let you do that.
Why?
I refuse.
Listen, I know it's too late now, but
Yeah.
they literally don't care.
I know they don't care. I care. I think
it
it was sweet that they're willing to do that in their job.
Yeah.
But I said if I
given so many sponge baths, it doesn't even faze me.
I said if I let you start taking care of me that bad, I will not recover. And I kind of understand what you were saying, because she instantly got kind of rigid and was like, okay, well, I'm gonna stand in the thing, waiting for you. So they got me in there, and they started taping my IVs and bagging them up, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I am a man. And they made me take my walker in there, so I couldn't even stand underneath the shower. I was standing on the edge of the shower, holding on to the chair, not even really getting wet.
Yeah.
And I bathed myself, and I didn't tell them this, but I started getting lightheaded. And I was like, I'm going to go down.
You're a bad patient.
I'm going to go down. I'm going to fight it. I took my oxygen out, and I stuck my head out of the shower, and I was like, I started like breathing in like really deep, and something shifted in my lungs, and I puked mucus for 2 minutes, and then my health just BAM! Amazing. I walked back in, I clothed myself, I almost slipped and fell. I sat down, and then I was like, man, I gotta pee.
Is that when you sent the video?
That's what I sent in the video. So they didn't have a sit-in toilet potty chair for me yet, because they didn't think I was getting up. They almost gave me a, what are they called?
A Foley, like a catheter?
Yeah. So,
Don't you look at me.
I really had to go.
Yeah.
And I started buzzing. No one was coming. Yes, sir. I really need help getting to the bathroom. Okay, sir. 1 moment. Well, 1 moment turned into an hour.
3 hours.
Turned into 2 hours. Turned into 3 hours. I'm about to pee. I cannot soil my last clean pair of underwear that I brought with me. Because they let me shit myself twice. I was down to my good ones.
Yeah.
They weren't returning my laundry either. So, and they took my socks.
Probably through a boy.
They took my socks. So, I get my cup. My ice cup. It was empty. It had been hours since they'd given me water. So I peed in it. Whole thing. I was still going. I grabbed the
The urinal thing.
No.
Oh.
It's like about this long, and it's like flappy.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Fluffy.
Yeah, so it was soft. There was no structure to it, but it was some kind of a container. It looked vaguely like an elongated oval. I peed in that too.
Okay.
I'm running out of
I don't
room.
remember what it is.
So I grabbed the actual thing, finally, that I needed to pee in, which was the
urinal.
The
The
pee
plastic
bag.
thing, yeah.
Yeah. I filled that up. And I sent a video to all my closest friends and associates.
I remember that
I
video.
said, that is full of my piss.
Is full
And it was like,
of my
I was
piss.
like, oh, Ryan's pee's dark.
Yeah, Lasix.
Yeah.
I want some. I lost so much weight.
Yeah, Lasix is beautiful, but it's also a curse because you have to pee so much.
I'll pee for the skinny. I'll do it. I'll do it right
Me
now.
too. I'm like, give me the skinny.
I take skinny, please.
Yeah, so that happened, and it became a joke. Ryan's rebellion, because I was bound and determined to get these people to take care of me.
I hate.
At least.
If it makes you feel better, they're one of my least favorite nurses.
So I called and complained. You know the automated checkup?
Yep.
I went, oh no, I was very dissatisfied to the automated message. I got a call in 20 minutes. Sir, is there anything we can do? I was just happy to have been alive at that point.
Yeah.
I did not think, I'm going to get some money. But, I probably should have.
I told Brad, low key, when you got admitted, I was like, Brad, I hate to tell you this, but patients that get admitted with COVID have a terrible outcome. I was like,
Yeah,
I don't want to tell you that there's a good chance that Ryan might die, but Ryan might die.
She legit looked at me.
I sat him down. I was
She
like,
looked at me. She said, this is not good. And I was like, okay. And she was like, do you understand? I'm like, yeah, I get it.
I don't want to think about the outcome, just how sad Tri-State would have been, and the bigger friend group if I had bid it.
Yeah. But
And we're back, one HIPAA violation later. Editing.
yeah,
Woo!
the COVID numbers weren't great, so I was super nervous about that. I told Brad, I was like, listen, they don't just admit everybody with COVID. Like, they're not going to just admit everybody who comes in COVID positive. I said, this could be really bad. And Brad's like, okay, yeah, whatever. I was like, no, look at me. This could be really
Your
bad.
buddy probably ain't coming back.
I said, there's a very good chance.
I wouldn't. I was like, I'm not gonna let that get to me though. I'm like, I'm just gonna hope and pray that he comes out. All right, and he did.
There was a moment. It was very sobering. It was like right before I started pissing on myself. I said, I said it early. If I don't start moving, it's gonna be over. So I was doing laps. About 3 days before they actually let me out, I was 100% on oxygen. Or I was 100% off the oxygen. They had me on 15 liters.
Whew.
Constantly. I'm surprised they didn't go ahead and vent me, because I grabbed one of them. I was like, don't put me on the vent. I've heard too many old white women yet complain about the vent.
Yeah.
This will be the one time they're right.
Yeah. They probably, if you weren't so against it, they probably would have.
Right. And I started getting up. They caught me one time. Can I tell you about this?
No.
I was doing gram laps around my bed, holding my oxygen tube. I was like, just kind of walking. And I was listening to the Cyberpunk 2077 soundtrack, specifically Never Fade Away.
Yes.
And they walk in right as the heavy metal part starts in, and I looked, and then she looked at me, I looked at her, and I was like, hello, nurse.
Hello, nurse.
I know I straight up looked like Hannibal Lecter.
Probably.
My hair grew so much.
Did you have a heart monitor on?
No, yes.
They probably got a call from the monitor room, like, hey, this guy's heart rate's 150. Go check on him.
No, because I was also
and they
looking.
came in, they're like,
I was also looking at my little thing. Oh God, I can hear it now.
me too.
And I was watching it, and I was like,
Trauma.
they're gonna put me on more oxygen if that goes above 100.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I can deal with 99. I can deal with 98. Yeah, 98.7 was my magic number. But I got to that point, and I just remember when they said, "Well, Mr. Hendrick, we're going to begin your, going on." And I was like, "Okay, cool. When can I leave? Maybe tomorrow." Okay, cool. I couldn't sleep. I was ready. I came out of that hospital. I felt like Red from the Shawshank Redemption. I've been indoctrinated, Andy. I can't exist in the world outside anymore. Now, where did Brooke stay? But, getting out was weird because my dad came and got me from the hospital and started driving me home. Traffic messed with me. I wasn't used to the fast movement of a car. I couldn't drive for 3 days.
Yeah.
Finally, I stole my keys and escaped my own home. Drove to my primary care doctor, got my work excuse, and then I blinked and I found myself walking into Buffalo Wild Wings. And I looked at the person. They looked at me. I had my mask on, obviously, but they could tell this man has lost an extraordinary amount of weight because he is holding up his pants. And I was like, "Hey, I just want something to eat." Okay. And so they sit me down, and I went, "Hey, can I have some chips and queso?" "Yes, sir." "Hey, can I have some mozzarella cheese sticks?" "Yes, sir." Hey, I think we eat like 20 wings. They're like looking at me. I'm like, I said, hey, I just got out of the hospital. I've been eating not quite grilled, but not quite fried chicken. And,
It's terrible food.
oh, but you know what? I
It's
think
okay.
it's what we all need.
No.
Yeah. So skinny. And then I found it in 2 weeks. I was like, I'm going to take this bill of health. Now I'm like 30 pounds heavier than when I went in.
Yeah, it happens.
I've never been above 300 before. I'm like 315 right now. Yeah. But regardless, I hope I never have it again. I'm vaccinated. At this point, we might get super COVID next year.
Oh, good.
COVID, went dynamic.
Extra COVID.
It was dynamic.
Watch the measles get shot in the chest.
It's like, ah!
Freaking Wuhan goes to Wu-Tang. I don't know if I can say that on the internet.
It's fine.
It's fine.
Leaves from the vine.
Well, if we're going to be transitioning into Avatar,
Oh, Lord.
let's go ahead and have that conversation when you get back.
Okay.
Woo. Avatar, man. I need to get into that.
Yeah.
I do. I really do.
How far are you?
Where we left off
The
when we had.
Air Temple?
Yeah.
Yeah. Waiting on Sam to show up to
Yeah.
Game of Thrones.
I don't know, man. Something about it. It's hard for me to get into it.
It's a thing that you got to watch and say, okay, I'm going to watch this. But also, you got to be in the right mindset. You got to be ready for this thing to change your life.
Oh, no. I don't know if I'm ready for that kind of commitment
Nah,
yet.
man. Okay, so you get to the point where one of the characters is literally screaming at the sky, wanting to be struck by lightning, yelling, "You never held back before!" I went, I've been that angry.
Ooh.
Another one of the great quotes is, you must, gather your knowledge from many places. If it just comes from one, it will become rigid and stale. But if you come to learn about other people, you will have a more rounded experience.
Well, it's very true.
I mean, I am a very stereotypical heterosexual white male. Patriotic for my country. But, yeah, that's right, the look of horror, Grace. But, Nick, he's a Satanist. Tatiana. Tatiana.
And we don't know what Tatiana is yet.
Well, we politically no, but she comes from a different ethnic background
Yeah, true.
than us. Sam's rich, I'm poor.
Was
Was?
poor.
What? I was poor? I am
No,
poor.
I mean.
Oh, you? Yes.
Yes.
I still am.
Hey.
I got you, homie.
Good. Jolly cooperation, as the Dark Souls says. But no, we were talking about how, when you watch Avatar, you gotta be ready for it to, change things.
It did, especially as a kid.
Yeah.
I grew up watching Avatar.
And it's the same thing with Star Wars. It's very hard to do the reverse.
But you watch Avatar, as a kid, I didn't pay attention to any of, the deeper meaning of anything.
But they still got to you.
I was like, oh, it's a cartoon, it's so cool, Appa's so cute.
Yeah.
It still got to you, but you go back
Momo.
and watch it as an adult,
After
you're like,
life.
whoa, this is so deep.
What was the episode that affected you the most?
Man, it's hard. I don't know why, but from a kid's perspective, the first time I ever as a kid watched Avatar and this means more than just it's a cartoon was when when Aang was in the spirit world and he's talking to the spirit with the different faces.
Oh, yes.
That was the first time as a kid I was watching Avatar and I was like, this is so much more than just cartoon. I was like, this means something.
What about his experience with Ko? Whoa.
Yes.
Whoa. Okay, so there's this thing about me, viewers. I will randomly just connect with the IP that we're talking about and remember things I don't even remember remembering. Ko. Am I right? Is that the spirit's name?
Ko is the...
Multiple face?
Yeah.
Is that really his name?
You know what? I don't remember. I really don't remember.
Right. Because he had wronged Avatar.
Yeah.
The water one.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about that kind of got to you?
I don't know. It was just like Aang in the spirit world and like talking to the faces and the way like
KOH.
I'm trying to remember like the way I saw it as a kid. Like the way his like the faces changed, the way that like I could tell Aang wanted to be affected by it, but he tried to pretend because you know like if he showed no expression, like it couldn't steal his face.
Was it this thing?
Yes.
Ko. K-O-H. The face stealer.
Yeah, I don't know why, but that like stood out to me so much as a kid.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh wow, like this means something.
Right.
And then like the koi fish. That meant like I was physically emotional to that part. Like when he like killed the fish. Like,
so brutally.
so brutally. Like it really affected me as a kid, and I was like, oh wow, like why does this bother me? It's a cartoon fish.
And then Iroh, his reaction.
Yes, he was so.
Whatever you do to this fish, I will unleash on you 100-fold. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, he was the fat
He was
comic relief.
Just so like calm and chill and funny, and then he was like,
Bam.
bam.
Yeah.
In the library, the owl.
Library. Okay, so did you end up watching Korra?
I've only watched like 2 episodes of
They
Korra.
brought the library back.
Did they?
And you see the little skeleton of the. I could spend my whole life here. He did.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm still watching Korra. I just entered book 3. But you end up going into the backstory of the first Avatar. And
Neat.
lion turtles. But I think that one of the big episodes that kind of like really got me as a kid was probably also the part 1 of the Winter Solstice, because I don't know if you remember, but the big theme of that was, even though you're upset, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the forest spirit was the panda, but because it was so torn up, it was doing things that weren't really it.
Right. And like Zuko with when he wore the mask.
The blue spirit.
It's been so long since I've watched it.
Sucking on toads.
That got me too.
I wonder if in a different time if we would have been friends. I remember.
Yes.
Oh, it's like the deserter. Respecting power.
Mm-hmm. Such a great show.
Great show. As a kid, I actually was not a fan of the King of Ba Sing Se, not the Amashu.
Mm-hmm.
But going back and looking at it, the value of an alternative point of view really resonated with me with King Boomy.
Yeah.
Though, how do you view the 3 seasons? Do you rank them independently?
3 seasons.
Yeah. Because I can almost say that I consider 2 and 3 a big just continuation of each other.
Yeah.
Where season 1 was very much
standalone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so too. Like as a kid, I was like, oh my gosh, it's a cartoon. It's just Avatar. Like I can't wait for the new episode to come out, and like I watch it. And like as a kid, I was like, that's just a cartoon. I love this. And then there's like certain like moments that I remember distinctly watching and be like, that's kind of deep.
Yeah.
But then...
Why is it affecting me like this?
Yes. And it wasn't until I went back and watched it as an older adult that I was like, oh my gosh. Like,
So good.
so good. And like, that's my thing with Korra. Like, I'm sure Korra's great. Like, I started watching it and I was like, this is so different.
There were so many fewer lessons.
Yeah.
Well...
It was more of a...
Story.
Telling the story of, yeah.
So Korra, from what I've seen, focuses so much on individualism
Mm-hmm.
that there were not lessons like Iroh did. They had to dig Iroh up
Yeah.
to do a lesson
Right.
about how your emotions can affect people around you, even if you don't want them to.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, very famously, if darkness is all you're looking for, it's what you're going to find.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just very affected by that. I didn't see Korra until I was an adult. But I think that season 2 developed me the most as a person, because you've got that whole outcast thing with the people that you know I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Brad, you haven't seen the show.
No,
We're
I
protecting
haven't.
you.
Thank you.
A lot of people don't like The Great Divide.
Really?
In season 1. Graham, in particular.
Why?
He said that Aang would never have lied. Why?
Why?
He lies all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Bato and the Water Tribe.
Aang was very, like, I feel like in the succession of avatars, like, I feel like Aang was very different from the rest of the avatars.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, he was born and then he was frozen for like 100 years. I don't know. I feel like Aang was definitely was very different from the rest of the avatars.
Well, he was also one of the ones that never was like, okay, well, this is an acceptable evil to take, Ozai's life.
Mm-hmm.
Even other airbenders were like, it will bring balance, which is the most important thing. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, that's not Aang, though.
Yeah.
Though, me and my feels in the back corner was like, burn him! Favorite character?
In Avatar?
Yeah.
Iroh, of course, but Sokka.
Sokka.
I really loved Sokka. Like, I feel like his character just had such a development from...
Yes.
And usually...
Because he's the one character that we've talked about tonight that went through the whiny phase, but came out better on the end.
Yeah. I'm not going to even put him in the same category as the other whiny men characters that I hate.
Oh, yeah?
I don't put him in that category, but...
Women aren't warriors. I don't want to wear the dress.
I loved Sokka, though. He was so... He was
I do remember
and
that.
Zuko.
I do remember that.
Sokka and Zuko, they were just great.
I
put Zuko in Anakin category, though.
Do you?
Yeah.
I look in the mirror a lot and see Zuko.
I liked Zuko. I didn't really understand his struggle. Well, never mind. His desperation to please his father. Okay, I get that. But...
Zuko's father is voice acted by Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
I don't... What?
That is Luke Skywalker.
No, it's not!
It is.
Bring it up!
It is.
I didn't know that.
What's his name?
Zuko and Sokka are my
Ozai.
favorites. I liked Katara, but I didn't feel related to
Toph.
I love Toph.
Oh, you didn't feel related to Katara.
Yeah. Toph, Zuko, and Sokka are my
Lord
favorites.
Ozai. Mark Hamill.
That's crazy.
Do you remember the goatee grab? The famous goatee grab.
Yes.
Oh.
Did you know my dad was friends with the guy that voiced Iroh? My dad was friends with him.
It hurts. The first time or the second time?
What, the first?
Yeah, Mako.
Mako.
Mako was his name. Mako, I'm probably going to butcher this, and I'm sorry for him. Iwamatsu? Iwamatsu?
My dad used to hang out with them all the time.
That's awesome. Now, falling so slow.
Falling so slow.
Oh no.
I'm not gonna cry.
Go back to kind of like call back to Star Wars. Her dad even met Gina Carraro. Mm-hmm.
And the guy that did Darth Maul.
Yeah, Ray Park.
Ray Park?
Yeah, he met Ray Park. Because he
That's
was doing
a whole other thing. We can have a whole conversation about
Ray Park.
my dad and
Oh.
all the people he knew. But I'm sure nobody cares about that.
Nobody cares. I mean, I've got a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got 3 whole videos about storytelling.
I love it.
No.
I want this to be a thing so bad.
We'll do it.
Our podcast. I want us to have a podcast. Do you know how long I've wanted to be a part of a podcast? Forever.
Yeah.
Forever.
So, is that what we're going to call it? Drunk Nerd Podcast?
Maybe. I told
I'm
Brad,
sure we could be much more creative.
Yes. I told Brad this the other day, and I know we're still recording, but I told Brad, I was like, listen, our friend group, like, we are such a diverse group of people who know so much about the same things. We all get along. I'm like, I feel like our group, we could create something so fantastic. I don't know what we could, what it is.
Not quite Critical Role, but Critical Role about life.
But better. But I feel like
But better?
Critical Life.
No, listen,
Matt Mercer's going to kill us.
I feel like our group could, we just have potential. I feel like we could create something great.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Would you all want to keep it on YouTube, or would you want to try and do some kind of like a Spotify thing?
Yeah. Spotify.
We can do that. Cast numbers, though. We're doing this in the middle of the podcast.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay.
It's the alcohol, sorry.
Probably. Oh, I don't even feel it. We've had such a... I'm proud. I'm on L4.
I'm on 6.
Well, y'all live here. I'm the one who has to wait an appropriate amount of time and then drive home.
That's true.
Or stay here in our wonderfully prepared guest bedroom.
I hear it's a nightmare.
Remember Graham? So for those of you who don't know, there was a time whenever Ryan and Graham both stayed over at our house.
We just
There was a
moved
horrible
in.
flood.
Yeah, there was a horrible flood that happened, and we just moved in. We're still trying to get everything situated. The bed for our guest bedroom has not been made. It was not even brought in. So there was a futon with no legs that was laying down.
I had been here earlier in the day moving furniture, helping out, being a good person.
Yeah.
And I looked at it and I said, I'll take the couch.
Mm-hmm.
So because I had already cleaned the couch, Graham got the futon. I wake up with Azula the cat and Hash Brown the cat all up in my jimmies. And he opens up the door and kind of like slumps in and says, "This house is a nightmare." In time for Brad to open up his bedroom door.
I just woke up and I heard that. I heard Ryan go, "Hey, Graham, what's up?" He said, "Oh, Ryan, this house is a nightmare." And I opened the door. I'm like, "My house is a nightmare?" And then Graham turned, realizing what he just said. He said, "Oh, no, that's not what I mean." Mm-hmm.
As the lies get more intense, so does the pitch of his voice.
Yeah.
Pretty soon it's just like this. But nah. It's good stuff. I would really like to develop this into a thing. Now, how big do you think that like we should do at a time with like the people?
What do you mean?
I mean, 3 people's great.
Yeah,
Is
I feel
4
like
people too many? I mean, we could.
I feel like we should focus, like pick, like kind of talk about whatever we want to talk about, and then add people in as necessary. Like certain people of our group are more knowledgeable or more passionate about certain topics.
Dark Souls, Nick.
Add Nick in, or add Graham in for certain things. I feel like it'd be just wonderful.
It'd be fun.
And if we're going to make this a drunk podcast, I was like sitting in the bathroom earlier like, oh my gosh, like imagining like what if we got super big and like we got sponsors and we're like, oh my gosh, like I'm drinking this alcohol from this company because they sponsored us today.
So let that be known in the podcast. We are open to any sort of sponsorship, whether it is alcoholic
But
or
no, I'm just
non-alcoholic,
like-
but
I
please
felt like-
contact us.
We might even be
Because-
able to afford a pop filter later.
Yes, like deep
That is true.
inside, I was like, oh my gosh, as soon as I met you guys and like we all started hanging out, I was like, our group could create something so awesome. I don't know what it is, but I feel like we've just got it. We've all got it. And like we've all got such a diverse taste and things and a diverse set of skills.
And it never gets mean.
No, and if
No.
we could all work together on something, we could create something so awesome. I think it'd be great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
And maybe I could quit being a nurse.
Maybe I can focus on writing.
Could you imagine that? This is just now. This is the Hope podcast.
This is the Hope Podcast.
Could you imagine just being able to do a podcast and like
Or
that's
just
all
do
you had to do
something.
and just
Or
like
just do something that you actually like doing and doing it with people you like doing it with.
They'll look back on June 24th, 2021, and they'll say,
We
yes.
recorded a 3-hour-long podcast of us starting with games and talking about
it went from games to movies
to Star Wars.
then to Star Wars for a good portion, then Avatar. Now it's like
no Star
Writing.
Wars writing,
Avatar.
Avatar,
yeah.
Philosophy.
philosophy.
Dreams. 325 in town.
That's awesome. I
Yeah,
love it.
Easy stuff. I gotta buy a hard drive though, because that's gonna be a hefty file.
We could do this. We could so do this.
So you all want to like establish like a date and time?
Yeah. Just knocked all my drinks over. Sorry, guys.
Thank you all for tuning
It's
in to
starting to
the
get
Drunk
to me.
Nerd Podcast. We appreciate your listening, and please be sure to
I
make
knocked
sure
all
that
my
you
drinks over.
unleash your inner nerd.
And remember, keep telling stories.